Chapter 1. Deep in the night, at the back of Jialan Academy's mountain, a nimble figure was leaping through the forest. It was a youth with delicate features who looked to be around 15 or 16 years old. He was quickly heading towards the mountain peak. After today, the poisonous flames in Yushi's body should be completely removed. She won't have to suffer the pain of the poisonous flames anymore. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's speed increased by 30%. It didn't take long for him to reach the mountain peak. "Big Brother Feng, you're here." A sweet voice rang out. A young girl was waiting for Lin Feng. Although she wasn't old, she was charming and charming. Lin Feng and Su Yueshi were childhood sweethearts. They grew up together and had a deep relationship. Furthermore, they were both geniuses from Qingyun Town and had joined Jialan Academy to cultivate in the same year. In Jialan Academy, the two of them were famous geniuses. However, a year ago, Su Yueshi had almost died due to her cultivation going berserk. Although she managed to survive, she had to endure the pain of the poisonous flames every day. The Tianwu continent was a world of martial artists. Every martial artist had their own martial spirit. Lin Feng's martial spirit was an extremely rare devouring martial spirit. This devouring martial spirit allowed Lin Feng to absorb the energy of heaven and earth much faster than others. At the same time, the devouring martial spirit also gave Lin Feng a devouring ability. Therefore, when Su Yueshi's body had problems, she begged Lin Feng to help her suck out the poisonous flames in her body. The poisonous flames in Su Yueshi's body were very difficult to remove. Once they were sucked into the body, Lin Feng would have a hard time dispelling them. However, seeing Su Yueshi in so much pain, Lin Feng was willing to do anything for the woman he loved. Therefore, every full moon's night, Lin Feng would be here to help Su Yueshi expel the poisonous flames in her body. In the past year, because Lin Feng had absorbed the poison from Su Yueshi's body, the poison had been wreaking havoc in his body. His cultivation had also dropped from the 6th qi layer to the 3rd qi layer. But for the woman he loved, Lin Feng didn't regret it. "Yushi, sit down. Today, I will suck out all the poisonous flames in your body. Then, your body will recover completely," said Yushi. Lin Feng looked at Su Yueshi tenderly. "Thank you, Big Brother Feng." A sweet smile appeared on Su Yueshi's delicate face. Lin Feng took a deep breath and began to circulate his martial soul. A pitch-black vortex appeared in Lin Feng's dantian. As Lin Feng revolved the vortex, it flew out of Lin Feng's body and appeared above Lin Feng's palm. Lin Feng placed his palm on Su Yueshi's lower abdomen. Faint moonlight power sprinkled down, enveloping Lin Feng and Su Yueshi in silver armor. A black flame appeared in Su Yueshi's body. That black flame was the poisonous flames produced when Su Yueshi's qi deviation. At this moment, the poisonous flames quickly swam towards Su Yueshi's dantian. Lin Feng, relying on his devouring martial soul, began to absorb the black, poisonous flames. The veins on Lin Feng's body bulged. His face was extremely pale, and his eyes flashed with incomparable pain. The poisonous flames entered the body and burned it. Lin Feng's meridians had already been damaged when he healed Su Yueshi, but Lin Feng endured the painful torture. An hour later, the poisonous flames in Su Yueshi's body were finally completely absorbed by Lin Feng. Su Yueshi became energetic, while Lin Feng's body seemed to have been drenched by the rain. He was sweating profusely, and his face was pale. Lin Feng revealed a smile and said, "Yushi, the poisonous flames in your body have been completely removed. Rest for a while, and soon you will become the genius girl of the past." "Thank you." Su Yueshi nodded slightly. Her gaze towards Lin Feng had a trace of coldness. Lin Feng said, "Why are you being so polite with me? Yushi, it's getting late. Let's go back to the academy." I still have some things to do. I'm afraid I can't go back with you, Tsuyoshi said coldly. It's so late. What else do you have to do? Lin Feng could not help but ask doubtfully. Ha! Of course it's to be with me. At this moment, an arrogant laughter suddenly came from the forest. Then, a white-clothed young man walked out. This white-clothed young man looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. He was handsome and confident. Lin Feng recognized this person. This white-clothed young man was called Bai Yifei. He was an outer court genius. Bai Yifei, why are you here? Seeing Bai Yifei, Lin Feng frowned slightly. Yushi called me over. Can't you see that Yushi actually likes me? Bai Yifei looked at Lin Feng proudly. Impossible. Yushi, what's going on? Bai Yifei is lying, right? Lin Feng opened his eyes wide and looked at Tsuyoshi. Tsuyoshi glanced at Lin Feng indifferently and said, Lin Feng, Brother Yifei is right. I like geniuses like Brother Yifei. As for you, you've absorbed the poisonous flames in my body, and your meridians have been damaged. You're no different from a cripple now. It's impossible between you and me. Now that my body has completely recovered, Brother Yifei has prepared a violet sun pill for me to help me quickly break through. With the help of the violet sun pill, my cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. I'll definitely be able to pass the inner court exam. At that time, the gap between you and me will be even greater. We won't be in the same world anymore. So don't be delusional. When Lin Feng heard Tsuyoshi's emotionless words, he felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue. He shouted furiously, Tsuyoshi, you deceived me. I absorbed the poisonous flames in your body to heal you, and now my meridians have been damaged. How dare you deceive me like this? Little boy, you deserved it. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? You've already become a cripple. Do you think you're worthy of Yushi? Bai Yifei looked at Lin Feng disdainfully, then turned around and looked at Tsuyoshi. He smiled and said, Yushi, let's go. Tsuyoshi didn't want to look at Lin Feng anymore. She nodded and was about to leave with Bai Yifei. Tsuyoshi, you made me suffer. You can't leave. Lin Feng grabbed Tsuyoshi. Little boy, you're courting death. Bai Yifei sneered. He turned around and attacked Lin Feng with his palm. Bai Yifei was at the 6th celestial layer, while Lin Feng was only at the 3rd celestial layer. The gap between them was too big. Lin Feng hadn't been able to block that punch. Bang! Bai Yifei's palm landed on Lin Feng's dantian. Lin Feng was sent flying. He fell to the ground, and his whole body twitched. My dantian! Bai Yifei, you destroyed my dantian. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with fear. Then he looked at Bai Yifei and Tsuyoshi with endless hatred. Tsuyoshi frowned and said, Lin Feng's dantian has been destroyed. This is a bit troublesome. Although his cultivation has dropped and he's gone from a genius to a waste, he's still a student of Jialan Academy. If the academy finds out, we'll be in big trouble. Bai Yifei sneered. In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's just kill this little boy and end it all. Tsuyoshi hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. It was as if his heart had been pierced by thousands of arrows. He was in pain and despair. The last trace of good impression he had of Tsuyoshi disappeared. Bai Yifei walked towards Lin Feng and lifted Lin Feng up. He sneered and said, Little boy, you dare to steal my woman? You're really courting death. Bai Yifei threw Lin Feng down a cliff not far away. Shwa! Lin Feng fell quickly. Bang! Before he hit the ground, Lin Feng's body was blocked by a big tree. He fell to the ground and fainted. Rumble, not long after, thunder rumbled and dark clouds covered the sky. Bolts of lightning struck down. The purple thunderbolts intertwined like purple true dragons. Crack! The void cracked, and in the depths of the crack was endless darkness. It was unknown what kind of world it was connected to. Suddenly, a pitch-black, thumb-sized bead flew out from the crack in space. That pearl circled in the air and suddenly flew towards Lin Feng, who had fainted on the ground. Schwa. Chapter 2. Lin Feng woke up from the torrential rain. I didn't die. Lin Feng crawled up from the ground, his face full of shock. That be asterisk, TCH. How dare you make me so miserable? Then, Lin Feng's face was filled with endless hatred. Thinking about his energy center being destroyed, he could not help but feel sad. Even if he did not die, he was destined to be a cripple for the rest of his life. Suddenly, Lin Feng's face showed an expression of disbelief. This was because he realized that his energy center, which was destroyed by Ife, was still intact. Furthermore, a mysterious bead had appeared in his dantian. Lin Feng's face was full of shock and uncertainty. He extended his divine telekinesis and tried to explore the mysterious bead. Boom! When Lin Feng's divine telekinesis came into contact with the mysterious bead, he suddenly felt as if the world was spinning. Lin Feng realized that he seemed to have come to another world. This was a vast world. At the end of the world, endless lightning had turned into a sea of lightning. Dark clouds rolled, covering the sky and the sun. The purple lightning condensed into thick chains of order, entangling a powerful existence. It was an exotic beast with the body of an elephant and the head of a dragon. Its body was too big. Its four limbs stepped on the ground, but its head towered into the clouds. Heavens, what's that? Lin Feng looked at the mysterious beast in shock. Roar! The mysterious beast stood tall and stomped on the ground. Its roar shook the mountains and rivers. The world was almost shattered by its roar. Its huge body struggled violently, hoping to break free from the chains of thunder. However, it failed. Dragon elephant immortal, dragon elephant immortal, dragon elephant immortal. The huge existence roared angrily. Boom. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt his body tremble. A huge amount of information rushed into his mind. Lin Feng couldn't help but give a horrible shriek. His consciousness left the mysterious space. Only then did the splitting headache disappear. Dragon elephant godly force, dragon elephant immortality. Suddenly, a deep voice resounded in his mind. Lin Feng's divine thought entered his mind. Immediately, he realized that there was a dragon elephant that looked exactly the same as the one in the mysterious space. The dragon elephant stepped on the ground, and the sky was above its head as if it was about to split the heavens and earth. Lin Feng's spiritual will came into contact with the dragon elephant. Suddenly, a stream of information appeared in his mind. Dragon elephant immortality, demon god's strength, dragon elephant godly strength, samsara immortality. Lin Feng obtained a cultivation chant called the archaic dragonesque elephant art. According to the introduction, dracophants were primordial divine beasts. The power of dracophants surpassed that of primordial fiend gods. By cultivating the archean dragonesque elephant art, one could cultivate strength that far exceeded that of a primordial god fiend. Ha! I never thought that I would have such a fortuitous encounter. Lin Feng's face was filled with ecstasy. 3 days later, a youth in ragged clothes returned to Jialan Academy from the mountains. This youth was Lin Feng. After returning to the academy, Lin Feng went straight to his residence. Not long after entering the academy, Lin Feng was surrounded by more than 10 people. The leader of the group was a young man in his 20s. He was called by Xiaolu and was Bai Yifei's attendant. 3 days ago, after Bai Yifei threw Lin Feng off the cliff, he sent people to deal with Lin Feng's corpse. However, they couldn't find the corpse. Bai Yifei was worried that Lin Feng was still alive, so he sent people to guard the entrance of the academy to see if Lin Feng would appear. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would come back alive. Little bastard, I didn't think that you would come back alive. It was worth it for me to guard you for 3 days. Chapter 3. When he saw Bai Xiaolu and the others, Lin Feng smiled coldly. A bunch of dogs. How dare they act so arrogantly in front of Lin Feng? Look, isn't that Bai Xiaolu and the others? They've surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng has been missing for a few days now. There's been a rumor going around that Lin Feng was killed by Bai Yifei and Su Yueshi. I've been missing him for a few days now, and I've even believed it. Lin Feng's cultivation level dropped because he wanted to heal Su Yueshi. In the end, Su Yueshi ended up with Bai Yifei. What a pity, he was played by that woman Su Yueshi. So what if he's not dead? With Bai Yifei's talent, he'll definitely be able to enter the inner courtyard in 10 days. Then he'll have a high status, and it'll be easy for him to take care of Lin Feng. Why would he wait for 10 days? Bai Yifei's family is very powerful in Jialan City. They're probably going to take care of Lin Feng now. In the surroundings, some of the students were looking at Lin Feng pitifully. Capture this brat for me and bring him to the young master for him to deal with. Bai Xiaolu waved his hand and smiled evilly. Even though Bai Xiaolu was just a servant, he was arrogant because of the Bai family's influence. Yes, Master Lu. 2 servants of the Bai family jumped out and charged at Lin Feng. The 2 servants, one on the left and one on the right, both had hideous smiles on their faces as they moved towards Lin Feng. You're courting death. Lin Feng's face fell. How dare these dogs attack him in Jialan Academy? Lin Feng took a step forward and used Tiger Descends the Mountain. He was as ferocious as a tiger, punching at the 2 servants. The 2 servants' faces fell, and they hurriedly punched back. Bang, bang. The 2 of them fiercely exchanged punches with Lin Feng. Crack, crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. The arms of the 2 servants were directly broken, and the 2 of them flew out like a kite with a broken string. Flop, flop. The 2 of them fell to the ground in a sorry state and howled in pain. Wasn't it rumored that Lin Feng's cultivation had dropped drastically, and he had become a cripple? His attacks are so fierce. He doesn't seem like a piece of trash. Many of the students were astonished. Seeing that Lin Feng had crippled 2 of his subordinates, Bai Xiaoyou's face darkened. You little bastard, you dare to fight back? You must have eaten a bear's heart or a leopard's guts. Go, break his limbs. Hearing Bai Xiaoyou's command, the remaining 10 servants of the Bai family rushed towards Lin Feng. Break my limbs? With these pieces of trash? Said Lin Feng, while smiling coldly. He then moved like a ferocious tiger towards the dozen servants of the Bai clan. This was a mid-level yellow-ranked martial art, Tiger's Leap. It was a compulsory martial art in Jialan Academy. It was rumored that an old dean had created this martial art after observing the movements of tigers. Once used, one could leap freely like a tiger leaving the mountains. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng attacked again and again, throwing punch after punch at the Bai family servants. You little bastard, you're courting death. The servants of the Bai clan surrounded Lin Feng and attacked him from all sides. However, Lin Feng relied on Tiger's leap to dodge and dodge. Then he quickly threw out punches and collided with the Bai family servants. Every collision was accompanied by a blood-curdling scream. 10 consecutive screams were heard as the 10 servants of the Bai family were all sent flying by Lin Feng. Their arms were broken, and they were heavily injured. After defeating the servants, Lin Feng didn't stop and rushed towards Bai Xiaolu. Lin Feng used Flood Dragon Rises from the Sea and attacked By Xiaolu. By Xiaoyu's expression changed. He didn't expect the crippled Lin Feng to be so powerful. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He could only brace himself and attack. Bang! Lin Feng and Bai Xiaoyu's fists collided, and Bai Xiaolu was sent flying. Wah! He spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. Plop! Bai Xiaolu fell heavily on the ground, but he didn't care about the pain. He quickly got up and begged loudly, "Young Master Lin, please don't hit me. I was wrong. I'm just a servant. I was just following my master's orders. Young Master Lin, please spare me." "Spare you? You said you were going to cripple my limbs, but unfortunately, you won't be able to do it. I'm a vengeful person." Lin Feng sneered and rushed forward, throwing a punch at Bai Xiaolu. "I'll kill you." Bai Xiaoyu's eyes flashed as he waved his sleeve. Swoosh! A cold light shot towards Lin Feng. An arrow was hidden in his sleeve. The situation was dangerous. Lin Feng reacted quickly and took a step to the left. The arrow flew past Lin Feng's head. It was a close shave, but he managed to avoid a calamity. Lin Feng shouted and threw a punch at Bai Xiaoyu's chest. Bai Xiaolu was sent flying by Lin Feng's punch and fell to the ground. Bai Xiaoyu's face was filled with fear when his sneak attack failed. He begged, "Young Master Lin, I was wrong. Please spare me. Young Master Lin, please spare me." "Spare you? Is that even possible?" Lin Feng sneered. He walked forward and stomped on Bai Xiaoyu's right leg. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Bai Xiaolu screamed. His right leg was broken by Lin Feng. "You said you wanted to break my limbs, so I'll break yours today." Lin Feng sneered and stomped 3 more times. Crack! 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 The sound of bones breaking could be heard. Bai Xiaolu let out a shrill scream. His body twitched a few times before he fainted. "How ruthless! Bai Xiaoyu's limbs are broken." Gasps could be heard from all around. Chapter 4. Lin Feng returned to his residence and packed up before heading to the cultivation courtyard. In the cultivation courtyard, there were many cultivation rooms for students to cultivate in. Lin Feng entered one of the cultivation rooms. 10 days later, the inner courtyard examination would be held. Jialan Academy had a total of 100,000 students, but there were less than 3,000 inner courtyard disciples. It was obvious how difficult it was to become an inner courtyard disciple. Those who could enter the inner courtyard were definitely geniuses among geniuses. After being nurtured by the inner courtyard, their cultivation would improve by leaps and bounds. Tianwu Continent was a world of martial arts. Cultivators were ranked from low to high as martial artist, martial master, martial general, and martial king. It was said that after breaking through to martial king, there were new levels. However, those levels were still too far away for Lin Feng. Even the imperial guardian of Zhenwu country, the #1 expert of Zhenwu country, had not broken through to those fleeting realms. Every major realm was divided into 10 levels. Now, Lin Feng was at the 3rd level of martial artist. The strength of the Dracophant, circulate in the heavens, reverse the meridians, open the door. Lin Feng started to cultivate according to the Archean dragonesque elephant skill. He raised his right hand and made a starting gesture. Boom! Suddenly, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi went berserk. The heaven and earth Yuan Qi quickly converged into Lin Feng's cultivation room. The heaven and earth Yuan Qi in Lin Feng's cultivation room was 10 times more than before. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. 10 times the heaven and earth Yuan Qi. His cultivation speed was 10 times faster than before. The Archean dragonesque elephant skill was really powerful. Devouring martial spirit. Lin Feng activated his martial spirit. In an instant, the heaven and earth Yuan Qi was continuously absorbed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's strength also started to increase crazily. Martial artist, 10 levels. Level 1 strength, 100 gene. Level 2 strength, 200 gene. Level 3 strength, 400 gene. Level 4 strength, 800 gene. Level 5 strength, 1600 gene. Level 6 strength, 3200 gene. Level 7 strength, 6400 gene. The strength of the 8th heavenly layer was 12,800 gene. The strength of the 9th layer of heaven was 25,600 kilograms. The strength of the 10th heavenly layer was 51,200 gene. Lin Feng used to be a qi cultivator of the 6th celestial layer and had a strength of 3,200 gene. But because he had helped Su Yueshi heal her injuries, his strength had dropped to the 3rd celestial layer, and his strength had dropped to 400 gene. But now, Lin Feng's strength began to rise crazily again. Day after day, 10 days later, a powerful aura was emitted from the cultivation room. After madly cultivating for 10 days, Lin Feng's cultivation base advanced by leaps and bounds. On the day that Lin Feng came out of seclusion, his cultivation had already recovered to the 6th heavenly layer. Moreover, the Archean dragonesque elephant skill could allow the cultivator's physical body to surpass that of a primordial god fiend. Therefore, even though Lin Feng was only a cultivator of the 6th celestial layer, his strength had already reached 6,400 gene, which was already comparable to a cultivator of the 7th celestial layer. Walking out of the cultivation room, Lin Feng made a beeline for Jialan Academy's plaza. Today, the academy was going to hold the inner court assessment. The inner court was divided into 4 major departments: Purple Light, Star, Luoyu, and Long River. Each department recruited less than 100 people every year. It was quite difficult to stand out from 100,000 students. When he arrived at the plaza, there was a sea of people. Lin Feng went to the registration area and reported his name. Then, he waited for the assessment. Move aside, move aside. At this moment, a group of people walked over from afar. They were very arrogant. The person in the lead was Bai Yifei. Su Yueshi followed beside Bai Yifei like a little bird. Bai Yifei also saw Lin Feng. His face was full of a sneer as he walked over with Su Yueshi and the others. Lin Feng, I didn't expect you to be able to come back alive after throwing you off the cliff. Your life is really tough. Bai Yifei looked at Lin Feng with a sinister gaze. The heavens have eyes, and let me live. Otherwise, how could I have taken the lives of a pair of dogs like you? Lin Feng sneered. Who are you calling a pair of dogs? Bai Yifei and Su Yueshi screamed. Calling you a pair of dogs is an insult to dogs. Su Yueshi, you ungrateful bitch. Lin Feng curled his lips. You. Su Yueshi looked at Lin Feng with resentment. Lin Feng, you dare scold my woman? You're courting death. Bai Yifei said sinisterly. Su Yueshi is just a broken shoe that I'm tired of playing with, but you treat her like a treasure. Ha ha. Lin Feng suddenly laughed, looking at Bai Yifei with contempt. Lin Feng, you dare scold me? You dare scold me? Who do you think you are? How dare you scold me? Su Yueshi screamed, flustered and exasperated. So what if I scold you? Laozi has thoroughly seen your true face. Now, Laozi is officially telling you that Laozi is tired of playing with you. Now, Laozi is going to dump you. Laozi also congratulates Bai Yifei for picking up Laozi's broken shoes. Lin Feng curled his lips. The surrounding students looked at Lin Feng in astonishment. Many of them were wondering when Lin Feng had become so eloquent. He had actually scolded Bai Yifei and Su Yueshi so badly. Lin Feng, you're courting death. Bai Yifei said coldly. I'll give whoever cripples this brat a violet sun pill. Hearing the words violet sun pill, many students' eyes suddenly lit up. The violet sun pill was a priceless pill that could greatly increase one's cultivation. It was extremely precious. Immediately, a tall student walked out. This person was called Zhang Long and was also a disciple of an aristocratic family. He had been hanging out with Bai Yifei all year round and was extremely arrogant. Hee, Brother Fei, isn't it just crippling a trash? I'll do it. Brat, you even dare to offend Brother Fei. You really don't want to live anymore. Zhang Long smiled ferociously and threw a punch at Lin Feng's chest. Zhang Long was a warrior at the fourth celestial layer. The power of this punch was extremely overbearing. If one was hit by it, one's bones would be broken. Not good. Lin Feng is in danger. Zhang Long is a warrior at the fourth celestial layer, and his strength has reached 800 Jin. I heard that Lin Feng's cultivation has already fallen to the third celestial layer. Against Zhang Long, he will be crushed. Indeed, I think Lin Feng is going to die today, said Lin Feng. Many students were discussing. Facing Zhang Long's attack, Lin Feng coldly snorted and threw a punch towards Zhang Long. Bang! Following a dull sound of impact. Everyone saw that Lin Feng was standing in the same place without moving an inch, while Zhang Long was sent flying by a punch. Plop! Zhang Long fell to the ground in an extremely sorry state. Lin Feng sneered and walked forward. He directly stepped on Zhang Long's chest. A trash like you dares to provoke me? Lin Feng looked at Zhang Long condescendingly. Get lost. In the next moment, Lin Feng ruthlessly kicked Zhang Long. Ah! Zhang Long screamed and was sent flying by Lin Feng's kick. Chapter 5. Zhang Long has been crippled. Everybody was astonished. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. It was widely rumored that Lin Feng's cultivation had plummeted after helping Su Yueshi treat her injuries, and he had been poisoned by the fire poison, becoming a half-cripple. However, it seemed that the rumors were wrong. You actually dared to cripple Zhang Long? Bai Yifei roared, his eyes cold. A piece of trash like you dares to cause trouble for me? So what if I'm crippled? Lin Feng sneered. Be *TCH, be *starred. Just you wait. Since I didn't die at the bottom of the cliff, your fates won't be any better than Zhang Long's. Many people in the crowd began to discuss. Lin Feng was too bold. Calling Su Yueshi a *TCH was one thing. After all, Su Yueshi did not have a big family background, and Su Yueshi was indeed a *TCH. Many people despised Su Yueshi. However, calling Bai Yifei a *starred was not only insulting Bai Yifei, but also offending the Bai family. The Bai family was a big family in Sangharan City. Everyone was shocked by Lin Feng's fearlessness. You're courting death. Su Yueshi screamed, looking at Lin Feng viciously. Lin Feng, who do you think you are? How dare you insult Yushi? Suddenly, a cold snort was heard. Among Su Yueshi and Bai Yifei's group was a young man. He was tall and strong, and his name was Su Keqing. He was Su Yueshi's cousin. His cultivation was at fighter stage 5, and he was very strong. Su Keqing sneered. Lin Feng, you're just a disciple of a small family. Now that your cultivation has dropped, you're a half-cripple. Do you think you're worthy of Yushi? Compared to Brother Yifei, you're worlds apart in terms of cultivation and family background. Do you think you're worthy of Yushi? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Lin Feng shook his head. A year ago, when I was in the academy, I was in high spirits. At that time, Su Yueshi suffered from qi deviation and came to me for treatment. I remember that you were there too. At that time, you begged me to help that *TCH Su Yueshi. At that time, I didn't realize that the people of the Su family were all ingrates. Su Yueshi was A.B***, as expected of the slut's cousin. They're from the same family, jackals of the same tribe. You're courting death. Su Keqing's expression darkened. With a roar, he leaped out and rushed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you piece of trash, how dare you boast so shamelessly? Today I'll teach you a lesson and let you know when to advance and when to retreat. Falcon's 13 claws. Su Keqing let out a long howl, his hands like eagle claws. Swish, 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 13 consecutive attacks were aimed at Lin Feng. The claws were glowing, and the cold chi was as sharp as a blade. It was a mid-yellow ranked martial skill. Martial skills, from low to high, were divided into 4 ranks. Yellow profound, earth, heaven. Each rank was further divided into middle, high, and peak ranks. In Jialan Academy, the strongest martial skill was a high-level profound, ranked martial skill, the scorching sun mysterious skill. However, only the upper echelons of Jialan Academy were qualified to learn such a skill. As for earth and sky-ranked martial skills, they were legendary martial skills. Even in the entire Tianwu continent, earth and profound ranked martial skills hadn't appeared for many years. Falcon's 13 claws is a good move. After one attack, it's like a falcon pouncing towards its prey. Su Keqing has already practiced it to the point of perfection. I think Lin Feng is doomed. That's right, Lin Feng is in danger. This time, he's probably going to be defeated by Falcon's 13 claws. I wonder what will happen to him if he falls into Su Keqing's hands. Hee, does that even need to be said? His fate will be extremely miserable. Many students were discussing among themselves. They looked at Lin Feng with pity, facing Su Keqing's falcon's 13 claws. Lin Feng moved. He took a step forward and suddenly punched out. It was as violent as thunder. It was as swift as a dragon. Lin Feng was like a flood dragon, able to move clouds and rain with a single turn of his hand. A flood dragon emerging from the sea, bang. Lin Feng and Su Keqing collided. Kacha! Everyone heard the sound of bones breaking. Su Keqing screamed miserably. The arm he used to block Lin Feng's attack was broken. His entire body was sent flying by Lin Feng's punch. Plop! Su Keqing fell heavily to the ground and fainted. Su Keqing had been crippled by Lin Feng in one move. What? Lin Feng is actually so powerful. Heavens! Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Didn't the outside world say that Lin Feng's cultivation had plummeted? Has he become a cripple now? How can he still be so fierce? Many people looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. Lin Feng had defeated Su Keqing, who was at the 5th layer of the fighter realm. This shocked everyone. Su Yueshi's face suddenly changed. She looked at Lin Feng as if she didn't know him at all. Lin Feng was obviously a cripple. How could he still be so powerful? Su Yueshi couldn't figure it out. Lin Feng, I want your life. Bai Yifei's voice was cold. Swish! Bai Yifei directly pulled out the long sword at his waist, wanting to kill Lin Feng. You think I'm afraid of you? Lin Feng sneered. Both sides were ready to fight at any moment. Stop! At this moment, a cold shout was heard. A young cultivator in white walked over. Gongsun Chang'e, the 19th-ranked genius of the inner courtyard. He's in charge of the inner courtyard exam. Many people cried out in alarm when they saw the white-clothed cultivator. The surrounding students all had respectful expressions. Gongsun Chang'e was ranked 19th out of the 100,000 students of Jialan Academy. It was obvious how monstrous this person was. Gongsun Chang'e's cultivation had already broken through to the martial master realm 3 years ago. Now, it was even more unfathomable. Senior brother Gongsun, Lin Feng and Bai Yifei had no choice but to stop. They both saluted Gongsun Chang'e. Gongsun Chang'e glanced at Bai Yifei and Lin Feng, then said, "No matter what grudges you have, don't fight in private and disturb the order. If you want to settle your grudges, you can settle it during the inner courtyard exam." "Yes," Lin Feng and Bai Yifei replied. Gongsun Chang'e nodded and glanced at Lin Feng in a meaningful way before leaving. "Count yourself lucky. Pray that you don't meet me during the inner courtyard exam. If you do, I'll make sure you die miserably." Bai Yifei looked coldly at Lin Feng. "Is that so? I'm looking forward to seeing what qualifications you have to be so arrogant," said Lin Feng while smiling coldly. He then started walking away. "Brother Fei, Lin Feng is going to be a big problem for us," Su Yueshi said worriedly. "Yushi, don't worry. He's just a piece of trash. I'll get rid of him during the inner courtyard exam," Bai Yifei said confidently. Su Yueshi smiled and said, "Yushi naturally believes that Brother Fei has the ability to do so." The crowd dispersed, but many people were still talking about the conflict between Lin Feng and Bai Yifei. Lin Feng found a corner and closed his eyes to rest. He was waiting for the exam to start. Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, above the square, a sonorous and powerful sound of a bell resounded. Lin Feng opened his eyes and looked at the arena. Chapter 6. Look, the vice presidents of Violet Light, Star, Luo Yu, and Long River have all come out. Some students were pointing at the higher-ups of the universities. Each of the 4 campuses of the inner court had its own unique characteristics. In the Violet Light branch, they inherited the Violet Light glorious sun divine art, which allowed them to absorb the power of the sun. Their cultivation techniques were tyrannical and tyrannical. The starry branch inherited the mysterious heaven technique of the stellar Milky Way. It absorbed the power of the stars, and its cultivation method was soft but firm. The Luo Yu University had the 9 Heavens Moon technique, which absorbed the strength of the moon. The Eternal River branch inherited the Great Sun Eternal River sword art. Using the sword to enter the Tao, the sword art's power was boundless. However, many people believed that using the sword to enter the Tao was an unorthodox path, not a path to the Grand Tao. Among the 4 branches, the Eternal River branch was ranked last. The other 3 branches competed with each other, not giving way to each other. "Vice presidents, when will the exam begin?" asked Song Songhai. Now, the 4 vice presidents nodded. "Yes." Song Songhai nodded and shouted, "Quiet down! The exam of the inner courtyard has officially begun. We will now begin the first exam, the exam of the spirit." There were all kinds of spirits, but no matter what kind of spirit it was divided into different grades. The higher the quality of one's martial soul, the greater one's future accomplishments would be. "All right, let's begin," shouted Song Songhai. There was a glossy stone on the stage. It was called the Spirit Testing Stone and could be used to test the level of the spirit. One student after another stepped onto the stage and started the exam. Second-ranked talent, not qualified. Third-ranked talent, not qualified. Fourth-ranked talent, not qualified. One by one, the students walked onto the stage excitedly, but they left in disappointment. Every kind of spirit was divided into 10 grades. If one wanted to join the inner courtyard, the first condition was that one had to have a spirit of the 5th rank or higher. If one didn't have a spirit of the 5th rank, the inner courtyard wouldn't accept them. There are 100,000 ordinary disciples, but only a few can pass the first exam. Lin Feng couldn't help but think. 5th rank spirit. Suddenly, someone shouted. On the stage, a student was taking the exam. 5 rays of light shot out from the spirit testing stone. This was the sign of a fifth-grade martial spirit, which caused a huge commotion. That's the seventh young master of the Yen clan. He's been extremely talented since he was a child. Surprisingly, he's already awakened a spirit of the fifth rank. Many people looked enviously at the young man in the ring. Not bad. Go rest and prepare for the second test. Deacon Songhai nodded with satisfaction. The young master of the Yen family leaped down from the arena in high spirits. Following that, the students went up to take the test one by one. Usually, only one person with a fifth-grade martial spirit would appear out of 100 people. The elimination rate in the first round was extremely high. Buzz. Above the arena, light soared into the sky. This time, there were 5 beams of light. Tsuyueshi, fifth-grade martial spirit. Another wave of exclamations rang out. Under the envious gazes of countless people, Tsuyueshi held her head high and walked down the stage like a proud white swan. Tsuyueshi possessed a fire-type martial spirit with a ferocious attack. It wasn't surprising for her to possess a fifth-grade martial spirit. Not long after, Bai Ife also came to the stage for the test. Swoosh, the spirit-testing stone emitted a terrifying fluctuation, and 6 beams of light soared into the sky. 6th grade, martial spirit. The sound of people gasping was heard. Even the 4 great vice deans who were sitting on the stage were pleasantly surprised. A 5th grade martial spirit could be considered a genius. A 6th grade martial spirit could be considered a genius. Even in the inner courtyard, it was rare to see someone with a 6th grade martial spirit, said Xianyuan Mo, the vice dean of the Purple Light Branch, while smiling. A 6th grade martial spirit has appeared. I heard that Bai Ife has a dragon lion martial spirit. It's one of the best martial spirits in the world, and it's a 6th grade martial spirit. This time, if he can pass the inner courtyard's exam, he will definitely be accepted by the Purple Light Branch, said Shunguji, the vice dean of the Luoyu branch, while smiling. Brother Xianyuan, the Purple Light Branch already has enough geniuses. I think that Bai Ife should belong to the Luoyu branch. Ha! You two, the Purple Light Branch, and the Luoyu branch are places where geniuses come from. I think that Bai Ife should belong to the Star Branch. The vice dean of the Star Branch, Dong Fongcheng, also joined the competition. Only the vice dean of the Long River Branch, Gong Yangming, didn't join the competition. In the past few years, the Long River Branch had been weak, and their students were the leftovers of the other 3 branches. Gong Yangming didn't want to compete with the other 3 branches. At that moment, Bai Ife walked down from the battle stage with a proud expression on his face. "Brother Fei, you're so strong," said Tsuyueshi while holding Bai Ife's arm. She looked like she was worshipping him, said Bai Ife, while smiling proudly. He glanced at Lin Feng, who wasn't far from him, and walked towards him with Tsuyueshi. "Ha! Lin Feng, have you seen my talent? You're a half-crippled person. What qualifications do you have to compete with me? You're really overestimating yourself. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you want to live, get out of Jialan Academy and never appear in front of me again. I'll give you some face and spare your life, but if you don't know how to appreciate kindness, I'll let you know the consequences of refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit," said Bai Ife, while smiling coldly at Lin Feng. His eyes were full of contempt. He didn't put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. Tsuyueshi smiled and said, "Lin Feng, let me give you a piece of advice. Quickly leave the academy. With your sickly body, you'll only humiliate yourself if you participate in the exam." "Bitch, shut up," said Lin Feng coldly, while looking at Tsuyueshi. Tsuyueshi screamed, "Lin Feng, why are you scolding me? I, Tsuyueshi, am blessed by the heavens. Is it wrong not to choose a trash like you? No matter how you compare yourself to Brother Fei, you're miles apart. The man that I, Su Yueshi, like is naturally a blessed person like Brother Fei. Do you think that I would like a trash like you? Get out of the academy as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. This Lin Feng is really unlucky. He cured Su Yueshi, but he ended up like this. I heard that Lin Feng's talent was quite good. His martial spirit is also a rare martial spirit. He was supposed to be a star of hope, but now I think he has no hope of entering the inner courtyard. Some of the surrounding students were also discussing spiritedly. Lin Feng glanced at Su Yueshi. He didn't even want to talk to Bai Yifei and Su Yueshi anymore. He turned around and walked towards the arena. Lin Feng was also going to take the test. A piece of trash wants to pass the test. Bai Yifei curled his lips. Su Yueshi chimed in from the side. That's right. Compared to Big Brother Fei, this kind of trash is worlds apart. At that moment, Lin Feng had already arrived at the arena. He placed his right hand on the spirit testing stone. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 rays of light shot up into the sky. A grade 4 martial spirit. Many people shook their heads. So, what if it was a grade 4 martial spirit? If his martial spirit didn't reach the 5th grade, he would be eliminated. Although there was only a difference of 1 grade between a grade 4 and a grade 5 martial spirit, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. A mere grade 4 martial spirit, as expected of a piece of trash. Su Yueshi curled her lips. Lin Feng coldly looked at Su Yueshi. She was the girl who had followed him around and called him Brother Feng since he was young. Now, he didn't recognize her at all. She was the girl who had once made his heart beat faster. Now that he saw her face again, Lin Feng's heart was filled with deep disgust. Lin Feng took a deep breath and looked away from Su Yueshi's disdainful face towards Bai Yifei. Bai Yifei looked at him provocatively and said with a sneer, "A grade 4 martial spirit compared to my grade 6 martial spirit is simply a piece of trash. A piece of trash is a piece of trash." Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile, and he disdainfully said, "Is a grade 6 martial spirit really that powerful?" In the next moment, Lin Feng activated his martial spirit. The power of his martial spirit continued to pour into the spirit testing stone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Another 3 rays of light shot up into the sky. A 7-star talent. In the entire testing field, countless people looked at the arena with incomparable shock. Everyone had an incomparably shocked expression on their faces. A 7-star talent. The Jialan Academy hadn't had a 7-star talent in 3 years. How is this possible? How can you be a 7-star talent? There must be a mistake. There must be a problem with the spirit testing stone. Bai Yifei couldn't accept it and shouted, "A 7-star talent! A 7-star talent! It can't be real! It can't be real!" Su Yueshi was shaking her head. She couldn't accept that Lin Feng was a 7-star talent. "Haha, you don't dare to admit it? Bai Yifei, you coward. Today, I will let you know how big the gap between you and me is." Lin Feng laughed loudly and fully activated his devouring martial spirit. The power of his martial spirit was unceasingly poured into the spirit testing stone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Another 3 rays of light shot up into the sky. A total of 10 rays of light shot up into the sky. At that moment, countless people in the testing field looked as if they had seen a ghost. It seemed as if time had stopped. A 10-star talent, a 10-star talent. Our Jialan Academy has a 10-star talent. Chapter 7. 10 Stars Dazzling Sun. Everyone in the plaza of Jialan Academy was stunned. The Jialan Academy had a history of 1,000 years. However, There had never been a student with 10 stars in their history. It was said that the highest level they had ever seen was 9 stars. That was an elder from 800 years ago. Afterwards, that elder had reached the peak of the King realm and had become a legend in the Jialan Academy. Now, a 10-star genius had appeared in the Jialan Academy. No way, it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Su Yueshi kept shaking her head and shouting crazily. She couldn't believe that Lin Feng, whom she had given up on, was a 10-star genius. It was a legendary talent. Bai Yifei's face was extremely gloomy. He felt like his face was burning with pain. A moment before, he had looked down on Lin Feng's talent. In the blink of an eye, he had been slapped in the face. That slap was so resounding that it made Bai Yifei feel that the surrounding students seemed to be looking at him with a kind of mocking gaze. Bai Yifei, who was extremely arrogant, felt like he was going crazy. He hated Lin Feng to the core. He was jealous of Lin Feng, and his heart was filled with murderous intent. After the 4 vice deans had gotten over their initial excitement, they had calmed down a lot. Said Xian Yuan Mo, the vice dean of the Purple Light region, smiling, Lin Feng is a peerless genius. He has created history. I can't wait to see how amazing his next exam will be. Said Shun Guji, the vice dean of the Luoyu region. I heard that he was treating a female student and inhaled fire poison. His cultivation level dropped, and his body was corroded by the fire poison. His meridians were damaged. What? How could such a thing happen? If his meridians are damaged, it will have a huge impact on his cultivation. Said Dong Fang Chung, the vice dean of the Starry School. His facial expression changed. Gong Yangming, the vice dean of Changhe Branch, said, it's a pity that such a good seedling's cultivation path was ruined because of a problem with his body. As the 4 vice deans discussed this matter, there was a trace of regret between their brows. After knowing that Lin Feng's body had a problem, the 4 vice deans no longer paid attention to Lin Feng. Their gazes also swept past Lin Feng and looked at Bai Yifei in the crowd. Although Bai Yifei's martial spirit was not as good as Lin Feng's, Bai Yifei came from a large family. His talent was similarly outstanding. He was the main target that the 4 vice deans paid attention to. At this moment, the test was still ongoing. One by one, the students took the test. Finally, the test was completed. A total of 1,576 people passed the first round of tests. Songhai shouted, all right, everyone, we'll now begin the second round of the test, the strength test. Someone carried a huge strength testing stone onto the stage. The strength test was a test of one's physical body. Physical strength could be used to test the level of a student's physical body in a certain realm. Let the second round begin. One by one, the students walked into the ring. Boom. Then, these students gathered their strength and punched. One by one, the students condensed all the strength in their body and burst out with their strongest punch, blasting on the strength testing stone. 3 red lights for yellow lights, fist strength of 3,400 gene. 3 red lights, 3 yellow lights, fist strength of 3,300 gene. Many of the students' strength was average. These students were all geniuses of the outer court. Their strength had also reached the 6th heavenly layer. Their strength was around 3,000 gene, and there were no particularly outstanding students. However, as long as the strength of a 6th heavenly layer student exceeded 3,200 gene, they would be considered qualified. 3 red lights, 1 yellow light, 3,100 gene of strength, eliminated. 2 red lights, 9 yellow lights, 2,900 gene of strength, eliminated. There were also many 6th heavenly layer students whose strength did not reach 3,200 gene of standard, and all of them were eliminated. These students, during their daily practice, neglected to practice hard. Most of them relied on pills to increase their strength. After increasing their strength, they did not stabilize their realm, so it was reasonable for them to be eliminated. Bang. At this time, Su Ueshi walked up and punched the strength testing stone. Swish, 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 swish. 4 consecutive red lights soared into the sky. 4,000 gene of strength. Not bad. There is a student with a strength of 4,000 gene. The eyes of the 4 heads lit up. Su Ueshi also walked down with satisfaction. Yushi, your fist strength reached 4,000 gene. It seems that the Violet Sun pill helped you a lot. Bai Yifei said with a smile. Thank you, Brother Fei, for providing Yushi with the Violet Sun pill. Without Brother Fei's help, how could Yushi have today? Su Ueshi said like a little bird. Her gaze intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Lin Feng, revealing a trace of worry. Bai Yifei said, Yushi, don't worry about that trash. Although his talent is a 10-star talent, it only means that his martial spirit is very good. However, on the path of martial arts, the physical body is the foundation of cultivation. That kid's meridians are damaged, and his body is crippled. What threat can he pose? Hearing Bai Yifei's words, Su Ueshi's face revealed a smile. She smiled slightly and said, Yushi has never worried. That kind of trash. His life is destined to be a salted fish that will never be able to turn over. Haha, that's right. A salted fish will never be able to turn over. I like this saying. Bai Yifei smiled proudly. Soon, it was Bai Yifei's turn to test. Boom. Bai Yifei punched out. Swish, light flashed. 5 red lights soared into the sky. The strength of his fist reached 5,000 gene. Good guy, 5,000 gene of strength. This Bai Yifei is worthy of being called a genius. Around them, exclamations of surprise came out. Countless gazes were filled with envy as they looked at Bai Yifei. He's at the 6th celestial layer and has reached 5,000 gene of strength. Bai Yifei should be first in this strength test. The vice principal of the Purple Light Branch, Xianyuan Mo, smiled and nodded. Bai Yifei, my Purple Light Branch is willing to give you 3 peak yellow ranked skills. How about you join my Purple Light Branch? Xianyuan Mo directly sent out an invitation. The other 3 vice principals were furious. They hadn't thought that Xianyuan Mo would send out an invitation to Bai Yifei right after the 2nd round of the test. The 3 of them secretly cursed Xianyuan Mo for being shameless and rushed to send out an invitation. Bai Yifei, join my Fallen Moon branch. We will provide you with all the cultivation resources you need. The vice principal of the Fallen Moon branch, Shun Guji, sent out an invitation. Bai Yifei, come to my star branch. I will personally accept you as my disciple, said Dongfang Cheng, the vice principal of the Star Branch. Gong Yang Ming, the vice principal of the Long River Branch, said, Bai Yifei, join my Long River Branch. When the time comes, the Long River Branch will be responsible for finding a spirit beast for you to refine as your mount. How about it? The 4 branches all sent out invitations to Bai Yifei. Bai Yifei was very satisfied. Countless students were envious of Bai Yifei. Humph, do the 4 of you want to break the school's rules? A cold snort came from the depths of the school. Following that, an old man appeared on the stage out of nowhere. The 4 vice principals quickly stood up. Lord Vice Principal. This old man was called Wang Lin, and he was one of the 2 vice principals. His position was second only to the principal. Yes. Wang Lin nodded. If you want to join the inner courtyard, you have to pass all 3 rounds of the test. The test will continue. Although Bai Yifei hadn't been able to join the inner courtyard early, the fact that all 4 vice principals had sent him invitations was enough to show his talent. Bai Yifei walked off the stage with a proud expression. At this moment, Lin Feng arrived on the stage. Bai Yifei looked at Lin Feng with disdain. Haha, brat, did you see that? My strength has already reached 2,500 kilograms. How can you imagine the strength of my body? You're just a disciple of a small family. Although your talent isn't bad, can your body compare to mine? If your body wasn't damaged, there would be a huge gap between you and me, much less now. Compared to me, you're like a firefly trying to compete with the moon. You overestimate yourself. 2,500 kilograms of physical strength, is that very strong? Lin Feng's lips curled into a mocking smile. He took a deep breath. He activated the ancient dragon-esque elephant art. A punch exploded. Boom. Lin Feng's punch landed on the strength testing stone. Shua, rays of light shot into the sky. A total of 9 rays of light flashed in the sky. 9 stars flashed. The strength of one punch had reached 9,000 kilograms. This is impossible. Bai Yifei roared in disbelief. How can this be? How can this be? Wasn't he already a cripple? How could he become so monstrous? At the side, Su Yueshi's eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The reason why Su Yueshi had betrayed Lin Feng and thrown herself into Bai Yifei's embrace was because of his talent. Bai Yifei was destined to become a powerhouse in the future. As for Lin Feng, he was just a piece of trash. However, the reality was cruel. The talent that Bai Yifei was so proud of was now so laughable and trash in front of Lin Feng. For the first time, Su Yueshi felt a deep sense of regret. 9,000 kilograms of strength. Countless people roared in shock. Even the vice principals and vice principals of the 4 great courtyards lost their composure and roared. Chapter 8. Lin Feng's pure physical strength had reached a strength of 6,400 jin. The ancient dragon-esque elephant art was a technique that could temper one's physical body to a level surpassing that of an immemorial divine demon. Lin Feng circulated the ancient dragon-esque elephant art slightly and easily raised his physical strength to 9,500 kilograms, shocking everyone present. Genius, a peerless genius, who said that Lin Feng's body has a problem. He's at the 6th celestial layer, and his punch has reached 9,500 kilograms. Is this something that someone with a problem with their body can achieve? The vice principal of the Luoyu branch, Shun Guji, exclaimed as she stared at Lin Feng. The more she looked at him, the more satisfied she became. The other 3 vice principals' eyes were also shining. If it weren't for the fact that the vice principal was present, the other 4 vice principals would have already fought over him. Even the vice principal was pleasantly surprised. Vice Principal Wang Lin said, 10-star talent, 9,500 kilograms of strength in one punch. Lin Feng can be said to be perfect in the first 2 tests of the inner courtyard. There is only the test of willpower left. On the path of cultivation, one has to go through countless hardships. Only those with a strong willpower will be able to overcome them. I wonder how strong Lin Feng's willpower is. The 4 vice principals quickly nodded. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. They couldn't take their eyes off Lin Feng. At that moment, the entire Jialan Academy's square was in an uproar. 9,500 kilograms of strength in one punch. Heavens, isn't Lin Feng too abnormal? 10-star talent, 9,500 kilograms of strength in one punch. He's a monster, a peerless monster. It's really hard to understand. Why would Su Yueshi betray Lin Feng? With Lin Feng's talent, he's destined to become a strong cultivator in the future. He might even be able to break through the shackles of Martial King and enter that mysterious realm that everyone yearns for. He must be blind, right? There's going to be a good show to watch. I wonder what will happen between Lin Feng and Bai Yifei. Many students were discussing spiritedly Su Yueshi's face was full of disbelief. She was the person Su Yueshi had chosen to give up on. His talent was actually so heaven-defying, and Bai Yifei, who he once thought was a super genius, now seemed so laughable in front of Lin Feng. Damn it! How did Lin Feng reach a punching force of 9,000 jin? Bai Yifei's eyes were filled with hatred. In his heart, all kinds of negative emotions, shock, unwillingness, jealousy, and even killing intent were brewing in his chest. They were suppressed, so much so that Bai Yifei's face was distorted. In the surroundings, many students unconsciously distanced themselves from Bai Yifei. Many students walked towards Lin Feng, smiling as they greeted Lin Feng. When had Bai Yifei ever encountered such a scene of being ignored? For a moment, his face became increasingly gloomy. Time passed quickly. The second round of testing ended quickly. A total of 1,127 people passed the second round. Songhai said in a clear voice, "I'd like to congratulate everyone for passing the second round of the power test. Now, we'll be taking the final round of the willpower test. The location of this test will be at the Great Void Cliff, and you'll have to take the Great Void Illusion Boundary Test." The Great Void Cliff was a forbidden area of Jialan Academy. There was a mysterious ancient bell that was rumored to be an ancient Dao artifact. A Dao artifact was a Dao artifact. A Dao artifact could move mountains and rivers or reverse space. This Dao artifact was Jialan Academy's cornerstone treasure. The path of martial arts was full of thorns. Only with a strong willpower could one cut through the thorns and overcome difficulties. Thus, the third round of testing was extremely important. All the students moved to the bottom of the Great Void Cliff. The third round of testing willpower. Vice President, please activate the Great Void Illusion. Songhai said respectfully. The Vice President took out a jade talisman and activated it. The jade talisman shot into the sky and flew into the depths of the Great Void Cliff. Buzz. Following that, a divine light shot out from the depths of the Great Void Cliff. The divine light was dense and dense, turning into a mysterious, illusory world. The illusory world, suspended in the void, was the Great Illusionary Land. The third round of testing begins. Songhai shouted loudly. One by one, the students entered the Great Void Illusion to take the test. The Great Void Illusion would make people enter a mysterious illusion and be unable to extricate themselves. The shorter the time taken to break out of the Great Void Illusion, the higher the talent. Li Yun, 5 minutes and 13 seconds, eliminated. Sun Wei, 5 minutes and 10 seconds, eliminated. Zhang Xiaoya, 4 minutes and 32 seconds, eliminated. Li Nan, 2 minutes and 54 seconds, qualified. One by one, the students entered the Great Void Illusion to take the test. However, most of them failed. Only a few passed the third round of testing. The Great Void Illusion couldn't take more than 3 minutes. If one didn't come out within 3 minutes, they were disqualified. Su Yueshi came out too, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Some people were discussing and looking at Su Yueshi, who walked out of the Great Illusionary Land with envy. That result was enough for Su Yueshi to join the inner courtyard. After Su Yueshi, Bai Yifei walked into the Great Void Illusion. Time passed quickly. After 1 minute and 30 seconds, Bai Yifei came out of the Great Void Illusion. That was fast. Many people were astonished. The eyes of the vice presidents and the vice presidents of the other 4 universities lit up. It was rare for a student to come out of the Great Void Illusion in less than 2 minutes. Bai Yifei had only spent 1 minute and 30 seconds, which showed how strong his willpower was. The heart of martial arts. The heart of martial arts. Willpower is related to the heart of martial arts. The stronger one's willpower is, the longer one can stay on the path of martial arts. Bai Yifei's willpower is so strong, his future is limitless. Yes, since ancient times, all those who have achieved great things have had strong willpower. Bai Yifei already has that characteristic. There were some teachers of Jialan University around the Great Void Cliff. They were also observing the students and discussing them. At that moment, Lin Feng also walked into the Great Void illusion. He took a deep breath and stepped into the Great Void illusion. Boom! In a flash, Lin Feng had the impression that the world was spinning. It was as if he had traveled through time and space and arrived in another world. Gods and demons are immortal, all souls bow down. Suddenly, a low roar resounded. Lin Feng saw a three-headed, six-armed god and demon standing in this world. The god and demon was as tall as a mountain. He let out a low roar, and a terrifying aura spread out. He wanted to force Lin Feng to kneel on the ground. This is a god and demon? He wants to force me to kneel on the ground. This is ridiculous. I carry the will of the Archean dragonesque elephant. How dare a mere god and demon make me kneel? Lin Feng's face suddenly showed a cold smile. The Archean dragonesque elephant had its feet on the ground and its head on the sky. With a roar, the stars in outer space were about to fall. This was a heaven-defying existence that could travel through time and space. How could a mere Archean god and demon compare? Lin Feng activated the Archean dragonesque elephant skill. Boom! A terrifying will emanated from Lin Feng's body. This was the ancient will of the Archean dragonesque elephant. Above Lin Feng, the phantom of an Archean dragonesque elephant condensed. The Archean dragonesque elephant stepped on the ground of this world and suddenly raised its head. A loud rumbling sound was heard. The entire world was almost destroyed by the Archean dragonesque elephant. The phantom of the god and demon that was condensed from the will of the god and demon trembled, not daring to move. At that moment, the Archean gigantic elephant roared. The phantom of the god and demon collapsed. Dong, dong, dong. At that moment, in the depths of the Great Void Cliff, the melodious and ancient sound of a bell rang. The mysterious ancient bell that suppressed Jialan Academy's destiny had not sounded for 800 years. Now, the ancient bell seemed to have sensed something. The sound of the bell rose in spirals, shaking the stars for hundreds of thousands of miles. It's the sound of the Great Void Tao Bell. After 800 years, the Great Void Tao Bell has rung again. An emperor star has descended. In a secret place in Jialan Academy, an old man in seclusion heard the sound of the bell and suddenly stood up. His face was full of shock. Whoosh! Chapter 9. Dong. Everyone heard the melodious sound of the bell ringing through the clouds. The Great Void Tao Bell. It's the sound of the Great Void Tao Bell. Why is it ringing? The last time the Great Void Tao Bell rang was 800 years ago during the 15's test. That's right. The 15 was a genius with 9 stars. Back then, during the third test, he only spent 30 seconds to break through the Great Void illusion. That's why the Great Void Tao Bell resonated. Now that it's resonating again, does it have something to do with Lin Feng? Unless Lin Feng also spent a short amount of time to break through the Great Void illusion. The eyes of the 4 vice deans lit up as they looked at the Great Void illusion. The vice president also looked toward the great illusionary land with a look of anticipation. However, Lin Feng didn't come out. Within the Great Void illusion, Lin Feng had opened his eyes a long time ago. From the moment he entered the Great Void illusion to the moment he broke through the illusion, he spent less than 10 seconds. Lin Feng initially wanted to leave the great illusionary world, but at that moment, an old man appeared in the great illusionary world. Senior. Lin Feng's heart trembled, and he hurriedly clasped his fists. Those who were able to appear here were definitely the hidden experts of the academy. Little guy, you did well. You only spent 10 seconds to break through the great void illusion. However, if I were you, I would stay for a while and leave. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Feng with a smile. Lin Feng paused for a moment, then understood the old man's meaning. His third test had been too shocking. It had even resonated with the great void Tao Bell. If he left now, he would be telling everyone that the great void illusion had something to do with him. In the first and second tests, Lin Feng's performance had already been heaven-defying. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Lin Feng also understood this saying. The old man wanted him to stay for a while to dispel the guesses of the people outside about the great void illusion's bell, and let him leave. Thank you for telling me, Senior. Lin Feng thanked him. When he raised his head again, the old man had already disappeared. As for the melodious sound of the bell, it only rang 3 times before it disappeared. The bell stopped ringing? How strange. Back then, the 5th dean caused the bell to ring for 6 hours before it stopped ringing. Now, it only rang 3 times. It seems like Lin Feng has nothing to do with the bell. Ringing has nothing to do with the great void. That's right, that's indeed the case. However, I wonder what caused the great void paths, heaven, and earth to resonate. Lin. Now, they were all thinking about how to recruit Lin Feng. Of course, these 4 vice deans did not know that the sound of the great void Tao Bell had actually been sealed by that mysterious old man. That was why outsiders could not hear it. If not for that, the sound of the great void Tao Bell would still ring. Lin Feng came out. That's an ancient divine demon. He defeated the ancient divine demon in such a short time. What a monster. Jialan Academy is going to have a monster. Many students were talking. They looked at Lin Feng in awe. Bai Yifei's face was gloomy. The flames of jealousy burned fiercely in his heart. His face began to contort slightly. After Lin Feng came out, the test continued. One by one, the students entered the great void. In the end, 312 students passed the test. These 312 students would join the 4 main faculties of the inner courtyard. Lin Feng, you can ask for anything you want in the Purple Light group. Are you willing to join us? Lin Feng, if you join the Luo Yu branch, I'll teach you the 9 heavens falling moon incantation. Lin Feng, join the Star branch. We'll do our best to nurture you. No matter what resources you need, no matter how difficult it is, we'll do our best to satisfy you. Lin Feng, join the Long River branch. Even though the Long River branch is weak, the dean knows how to use Qi Huang Xian formations. You have a strong will. You have the talent to learn Qi Huang Xian formations. When the dean comes back, he'll be happy to teach you how to use Qi Huang Xian formations. The 4 vice deans of the inner courtyard tried their best to invite Lin Feng to join their inner courtyard. The conditions they offered made the surrounding students envious. Bai Yifei's face was distorted. If it wasn't for Lin Feng, he would be the one receiving attention. But because of Lin Feng, no one cared about him. It was all because of Lin Feng. Bai Yifei was extremely jealous of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was in a dilemma. How should he choose from the 4 branches? Logically speaking, the Changhe branch should be eliminated the most, because the Long River branch used the sword to enter the Tao. It was regarded as a small Tao. Among the 4 branches, the Long River branch had the least number of students and was the weakest. As for the long river branch's vice dean, Gong Yangming, it was just to attract people's attention, because everyone knew that the dean of the Long River branch was eccentric, and his whereabouts were unpredictable. Although he knew how to use Qi Huangxian formations, he never accepted disciples. Even when the dean begged him to accept a few disciples to train a few Qi Huangxian formations, he was rejected. But even so, Lin Feng still decided to choose the Long River branch. First, it was because Lin Feng liked the sword. Walking the world with a sword. Anger of an ordinary man. Blood splattered 5 steps away. A jug of wine, a sword, and a horse. How carefree and happy was that? Second, it was because Gongsun Chang'e was a student of the Long River branch. Previously, when Lin Feng and Bai Yifei were about to fight, Gongsun Chang'e stopped them. Although it seemed fair, he was secretly helping Lin Feng. After all, who didn't know of Bai Yifei's genius? And Lin Feng's cultivation level had plummeted, and he had long become a cripple. Everyone's gaze was on Lin Feng, including Vice Dean Wang Lin. If it wasn't for the fact that he was getting old and needed to go into seclusion to find a breakthrough, he would have accepted Lin Feng as his disciple. The eyes of the vice deans of the 4 branches were filled with fervor. I choose the Long River branch. Lin Feng said. Ha, good, very good. Lin Feng, don't worry. The Long River branch will definitely train you well. After being stunned for a moment, Gong Sun Ming began to laugh wildly. In the past few years, all the geniuses had been snatched away by the Purple Light, Falling Moon, and Star Royal Academies. The students of the Long River branch were the leftovers. As the person in charge of the Long River branch, Gong Sun Ming was naturally very sullen. Now that the monstrous genius Lin Feng had chosen the Long River branch, all of Gong Sun Ming's sullenness was swept away. Senior apprentice brother, did you hear that? Lin Feng has chosen our Long River branch. The students of the Long River branch who were in charge of maintaining order surrounded Gongsun Chang'e and spoke excitedly. Gongsun Chang'e smiled. Ha ha, great. Lin Feng is going to join the Long River branch. We'll become much stronger. We'll see a good show during the great competition of the 4 universities, said Gongsun Chang'e. Lin Feng, you have to think carefully. Joining the Purple Light group is the best choice, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you're still young. You're too impulsive. You have to think carefully. Lin Feng, think carefully. Don't make a decision so quickly. The vice deans of the Purple Light branch, Star Royal Academies, and Falling Moon branch were extremely unwilling to give up. They wanted to change Lin Feng's mind. Thank you for inviting me, vice deans. I've already made up my mind. I won't change my mind, said Lin Feng. When he heard Lin Feng's promise, Gong Sun Ming took a deep breath. The students of the Long River branch also felt relieved. Sigh, what a pity, what a pity. The vice deans of the Purple Light branch, Star Royal Academies, and Falling Moon branch all shook their heads. You'll be in charge of the rest of the recruitment. We'll go back first, said the vice deans to the 3 vice deans next to them. After that, they left dispiritedly. They didn't even want to look at Bai Yifei anymore. In the eyes of the vice deans of the 3 universities, Bai Yifei was nothing compared to Lin Feng. Vice deans Gong Sun Ming and Lin Feng chatted for a while before leaving with the vice deans. Bai Yifei couldn't accept the fact that the 4 vice deans who had been fighting over him had left just like that. Lin Feng was the main culprit behind all this. Bai Yifei jumped out and said loudly, Vice deans, I've heard that there's a challenge round after the exam every year. Will there be one this year? Songhai nodded and said, there is indeed a challenge segment. You can challenge other people either to compare notes or to resolve your grudges. However, there are 2 conditions. First, both parties must be willing to do so. Second, both parties can only use their fists and legs, not weapons. In a martial arts competition, you can only stop at a certain point and cannot injure anyone. Since there's such a rule, I'd like to challenge someone. Bai Yifei turned his head and looked at Lin Feng. He smiled hideously and said, "Lin Feng, do you dare accept my challenge?" Boom! The crowd burst into an uproar. Nobody had thought that Bai Yifei would challenge Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng's punch had reached 9,000 jin, while Bai Yifei's punch had only reached 5,000 jin. Challenging Lin Feng? Wasn't that suicidal? Everyone was puzzled, said Bai Yifei as if he was afraid that Lin Feng wouldn't accept. He looked down on Lin Feng and said, "Lin Feng, during the exam, you had the strength of 9,000 jin, and I only had the strength of 5,000 jin. I challenge you, and you don't dare accept? You're just a coward." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. He felt that there was something fishy about this. Bai Yifei definitely wasn't a reckless person, now that he was trying to provoke him. It seemed like he was worried that Lin Feng wouldn't accept his challenge. There was definitely something fishy about this. Lin Feng guessed that Bai Yifei must have some unspeakable secrets. However, Lin Feng was bold. He didn't care whether Bai Yifei had some secrets or not. Lin Feng wasn't afraid at all. In the face of Bai Yifei's provocation, Lin Feng replied indifferently, "Since you're looking for a beating, I don't mind stepping on you." Hearing Lin Feng's reply, Bai Yifei's face revealed a trace of a scheming expression. He even ignored Lin Feng's provocation and said sinisterly, "All right, since you dare accept my challenge, how about we sign a life and death bet? During a fight, fists and feet have no eyes. If you die, you'll be responsible for your own injuries." Bai Yifei's words shook the surroundings. Everyone was incomparably shocked. Bai Yifei's words were equivalent to signing a life and death contract. Originally, it was just a spar. But as long as Lin Feng agreed, an ordinary spar could be turned into a life and death battle. Everyone's eyes uniformly looked at Lin Feng. "That's exactly what I want." Lin Feng said indifferently. Songhai said, "The Academy's competition should end here, but since both of you have agreed to be responsible for your own injuries and deaths, then in this duel, the Academy's rules will no longer restrict you." Lin Feng and Bai Yifei both nodded. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them came to the platform next to the Great Void Cliff. Countless people looked at the two people who were confronting each other. Everyone was looking forward to this duel between geniuses. "Ha ha ha, Lin Feng, do you really think that I'm only at the 6th heavenly layer? Do I really only have a punching strength of 5,000 jin? If you think so, then you're gravely mistaken. Let me tell you, I've already broken through to the 7th heavenly layer. My strength has reached 10,000 jin. Let's see how you'll die today." His voice fell. Boom. Bai Yifei's body emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Bai Yifei's breath was like a sword. When his body moved, the sound of thunder could be heard. Breath like a sword, move like a thunder. This was the sign that his strength had reached 10,000 jin. 10,000 jin of strength. Bai Yifei has actually reached 10,000 jin of strength. This time, Lin Feng is finished. Chapter 10. 10,000 kilograms of strength. The expressions of the deacons of the 4 branches suddenly changed. The deacon of the Long River branch looked at Songhai and said with a gloomy expression, "Brother Song, the Academy has never allowed disciples to kill each other. How can you agree to Bai Yifei's suggestion of disregarding casualties? Isn't that ridiculous?" Said Songhai indifferently, "Brother Yang, you're wrong." Lin Feng agreed to it. "I'm just a mediator. I have no right to interfere in their private affairs." "Humph. Bai Yifei is your nephew. How could you not know how strong he is? I think you're harboring evil intentions." said the deacon of Long River coldly. Yang Jiang He, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Fine. I don't want to waste my time talking to you. Now, I have to preside over their battle, said Song Songhai with a cold smile. He walked to the center of the stage and shouted, "You two are willing to fight. Since that's the case, let's start." As soon as Song Songhai finished talking, Bai Yifei moved. He quickly moved towards Lin Feng and threw a punch at Lin Feng. That punch was so powerful that it could pierce through stone and shatter iron. It was terrifyingly powerful. Lin Feng blocked it with a punch. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them started fighting. Both of them were extremely fast. They were moving quickly on the stage. Time and time again, they collided with each other. That tyrannical power spread out, and the earth seemed to be trembling. As soon as they started fighting, Lin Feng was oppressed. That's obvious. After all, Bai Yifei's punch strength is 10,000 kilograms. It's 1,000 kilograms more than Lin Feng's punch strength. Lin Feng is obviously at a disadvantage. If I were Lin Feng, I'd withdraw from the battle. Even though I'd lose face, at least I wouldn't be in danger. Who knows if Bai Yifei would kill him or not? Bai Yifei tricked Lin Feng into accepting the battle. He won't let Lin Feng off so easily. Maybe he'll really kill Lin Feng. The surrounding students were all whispering to each other. Many of them were looking at Lin Feng with pity in their eyes. Lin Feng was very talented, but compared to Bai Yifei, there was still a huge difference. Besides, Bai Yifei was from a big clan. His skills and techniques were not something that Lin Feng, a disciple of a small clan, could compete with. Therefore, almost no one thought that Lin Feng would win the battle. Flood dragon emerging from the sea, Lin Feng's spine was like a dragon as he rushed towards Bai Yifei. He threw a punch at Bai Yifei. Bai Yifei smiled coldly. He looked at Lin Feng with disdain. He threw a punch at Lin Feng. Bai Yifei used the dragon subduing fist. He had the feeling that he could restrain Lin Feng. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng and Bai Yifei collided again. The dragon subduing fist was a high-level yellow-level skill. It was much stronger than Lin Feng's flood dragon emerging from the sea. Lin Feng was completely suppressed by Bai Yifei. "Little boy, let's see how you'll die," said Bai Yifei with a ferocious smile. He quickly rushed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression didn't change. Bai Yifei's punch strength was 10,000 kilograms. It wasn't strange for him to be able to suppress Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng's real trump card was the ancient dragonesque elephant formula. That was Lin Feng's strongest point. As long as the dragonesque elephant didn't die, the cycle of reincarnation would never be extinguished. Lin Feng crazily circulated his ancient dragonesque elephant formula. In his body, waves of tyrannical power instantly erupted. Vaguely, Lin Feng's dantian was condensing the image of a dragonesque elephant. The ancient dragonesque elephant formula erupted. Lin Feng felt the power in his body rising crazily. He threw a punch at Bai Yifei. Force against force. Many people were shocked. No one had thought that Lin Feng would choose to fight force against Bai Yifei. Is this Lin Feng stupid? Many people shook their heads. They felt that Lin Feng was simply courting death. At this moment, Lin Feng and Bai Yifei collided. The power of the dragonesque elephant instantly erupted. Bang! Their fists collided, and a powerful shockwave spread out, causing the ground to tremble slightly. Ah! Everyone saw that Lin Feng didn't move at all. As for Bai Yifei, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. He flew backwards. His face was as pale as paper. He had obviously suffered serious internal injuries. What? Bai Yifei was sent flying by a punch? Am I seeing things? Many people cried out in disbelief. Bai Fei, is this what you have to be arrogant in front of me? With such strength, you dare to show off in front of me? You're really courting death. Lin Feng stepped forward and threw a punch at Bai Fei. The ancient dragonesque elephant formula erupted. Chapter 11. The ancient dragonesque elephant art was indeed powerful. It crushed Bai Fei's attack. Ironlock River. Facing Lin Feng's attack, Bai Fei crossed his arms in front of him. Bang! Lin Feng's attack landed on Bai Fei's arms. Bai Fei was directly sent flying. Wow! That tyrannical power shook Bai Fei's body, causing him to vomit blood. Plop! Bai Fei fell to the ground in a sorry state. Isn't Lin Feng too strong? Is Lin Feng really only at the 6th layer of the warrior realm? How can he be stronger than Bai Fei, who is at the 7th layer of the warrior realm? Bai Fei ate countless pills and raised his cultivation to the peak of the same level. At the 7th layer of the warrior realm, he has an astonishing strength of 10,000 jin. But I didn't expect that he would still be crushed by Lin Feng. This Lin Feng is simply too abnormal. Around them, many students cried out in surprise. How is this possible? Bai Fei actually lost to you? Bai Fei directly jumped up, his face distorted. He couldn't accept what was happening in front of him. Boy, I will make you die without a burial place. Boom! Bai Fei's body emitted a tyrannical wave. His dantian became dazzling and resplendent. Roar! An earth-shaking roar came out. A fierce beast rushed out of Bai Fei's dantian. That fierce beast bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its roar shook the sky. It was born with the body of a lion and the head of a dragon. It was a dragon-lion beast. Dragon-lion martial spirit. Bai Fei activated his dragon-lion martial spirit. Among beast-type martial spirits, this kind of dragon-lion martial spirit is known for its strong attack power. Lin Feng's martial spirit seems to be a type of devouring martial spirit. It is relatively rare, but his martial spirit is definitely not good at attacking. That's right, martial spirit. Martial spirit is the foundation of a cultivator. It's also one of the strongest powers that a cultivator can rely on. Bai Fei's martial spirit is very violent. I don't know how Lin Feng will deal with it. I think Lin Feng won't be able to deal with Bai Fei's dragon-lion martial spirit. There was a lot of discussion around them. Everyone was nervously watching the battle between Lin Feng and Bai Fei. The draconian beast charged straight at Lin Feng. Brat, die. Bai Fei had a sinister grin on his face, as if he could see the scene of Lin Feng being torn apart by the draconic lion. Lin Feng sneered in the face of the draconian beast's attack. He stretched out his left hand, and a black hole condensed above his palm. The black hole flew out and enveloped Longshire. Devouring martial spirit. Lin Feng's black hole had trapped the draconian beast. The dragon lion bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it roared, but it could not break free at all. Heavens! Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit also has the effect of confinement. The draconian can't move. Many students cried out in disbelief. Lin Feng activated the ancient dragon elephant skill. The dragon elephant strength flowed into his right fist. He threw a punch at the draconian beast. Bang! Lin Feng's punch landed on the draconian beast. Bai Fei's draconian martial spirit was directly blown apart by Lin Feng's punch. It disappeared on the spot. Swoosh! Lin Feng jumped out and came to Bai Fei's side. He threw a punch at Bai Fei's body. Bai Fei was sent flying, spitting out 3 mouthfuls of blood in the air. Everyone stared at the battle in shock. Bai Fei had the strength of the 7th celestial layer, but in front of Lin Feng, he had been completely crushed. This can't be real. It can't be real. Su Yueshi shook her head, unable to accept what she had seen. Lin Feng had already arrived in front of Bai Yifei. He grabbed Bai Yifei's neck and lifted him up. Boy, I'll make you die miserably. I promise. Bai Yifei clenched his teeth and looked at Lin Feng with hatred. Huh, you're in my hands, and you still dare to threaten me? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with killing intent. Lin Feng, why aren't you letting him go? At that moment, a cold voice was heard. Everyone looked over and saw that it was the Deacon Song Songhai who was in charge of the battle. He was scolding Lin Feng. Let him go. Why should I? Lin Feng looked at Song Songhai and couldn't help but sneer. When exchanging pointers on the martial path, don't overdo it. This is the rule of the academy. Do you want to be heavy-handed? Song Songhai said coldly. Ha, Deacon Song, I signed the life and death contract with Bai Yifei, and you're the one in charge. Now, that Bai Yifei is in my hands. You're here to talk about exchanging pointers on the martial path. Don't you have any shame? Lin Feng sneered, without holding back. Hiss. Many students couldn't help but gasp. Lin Feng was too bold, wasn't he? He actually dared to say that Song Songhai was shameless. Song Songhai was a deacon in charge of external aid, and his position in the outer court was no small matter. Song Songhai's face suddenly became angry, and he shouted coldly, Boy, how dare you insult this elder? I think you're courting death. So what if I insult you? I've never seen a deacon as shameless as you. Do you think I don't know that Bai Yifei is your nephew? Before signing the life and death contract, you must have known that Bai Yifei has 10,000 gene of strength, right? Why didn't you stop him? Do you think Bai Yifei can defeat me? But you didn't think that Bai Yifei would lose to me, did you? And now you're talking to me about exchanging pointers on the path of cultivation? That's really ridiculous. I really wonder if you've lived for so long in vain. That guy. Almost everyone was staring at Lin Feng, dumbstruck. Many students sighed at Lin Feng's audacity. He actually dared to tell a deacon that he'd lived for so long in vain. The other deacons also smiled wryly and shook their heads. Song Songhai looked extremely gloomy. If Bai Yifei hadn't fallen into Lin Feng's hands, Song Songhai would have slapped Lin Feng to death to vent his anger. Boy, you better let Bai Yifei go. Otherwise, your bones will be ground to dust. Song Songhai said fiercely, Are you threatening me? Lin Feng frowned. I'm just reminding you that the Bai clan isn't a monster you can provoke. Song Songhai said gloomily, I see. Lin Feng nodded and said, In fact, you're also a member of the Bai clan. If you want Bai Yifei, fine, I'll give him to you. Ha ha, at least you know what's good for you. Hearing Lin Feng's words, Song Songhai laughed twice. But in his heart, he was determined to kill Lin Feng after this matter calmed down a little. Here, Lin Feng threw Bai Yifei to Song Songhai. It's finally settled. The other deacons also heaved a sigh of relief. They didn't want to see the two sides fight to the death. Song Songhai reached out to grab Bai Yifei. At this moment, Lin Feng's lips curled into a cold smile. The Archean dragonesque elephant art activated. Boom. A tyrannical force instantly shot out and slammed into Bai Yifei's body. Crack. The bones in Bai Yifei's chest cracked, and a tyrannical force poured into Bai Yifei's body. Ah! Bai Yifei screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He only felt pain all over his body, and his consciousness was fading. How could this be? Bai Yifei shouted in disbelief. When Song Songhai grabbed Bai Yifei, he was already dead. Chapter 12. Blood spurted out. It was a beautiful sight. Yifei, Yifei. Song Songhai shook Bai Yifei's body, but Bai Yifei was already dead. Bai Yifei is dead. Many people cried out in alarm. Nobody had thought that Lin Feng would really dare to kill Bai Yifei. He was really audacious. Bai Yifei was a direct descendant of the Bai clan. Lin Feng had killed Bai Yifei. He had become an enemy of the Bai clan. In the crowd, Su Yueshi was absent-minded. She had chosen to betray Lin Feng and throw herself into Bai Yifei's arms because she had taken a fancy to Bai Yifei's talent and strength. But at that moment, Bai Yifei had been killed by the person she had abandoned. To Su Yueshi, that was a heavy blow. Su Yueshi wished that everything was fake. She wished that the one who had been killed was Lin Feng. Looking at the handsome young man with long black hair on the battlefield, Su Yueshi suddenly felt terrified. She was worried that Lin Feng, who had taken advantage of the situation, would take revenge on her. Seeing that Song Tsanghai was furious, Su Yueshi prayed that Song Tsanghai would kill Lin Feng on the spot and help her get rid of this big problem. "Little bastard, you're courting death." Song Tsanghai went completely berserk. Bai Yifei was his nephew, but he watched helplessly as Bai Yifei was killed. Previously, he had been afraid that Bai Yifei was in Lin Feng's hands, so he hadn't directly attacked Lin Feng. But now, Song Tsanghai had nothing to fear. He walked towards Lin Feng. Boom! Song Tsanghai's body emitted a terrifying qi that made people feel suffocated. Martial Master Realm. Lin Feng's expression was extremely grave. The deacons of the outer courtyard were all Martial Master Realm cultivators. That level of strength far surpassed Lin Feng's. Song Tsanghai threw a punch towards Lin Feng. Facing Song Tsanghai's attack, Lin Feng discovered that he was powerless to resist. Danger! Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. At this moment, a figure appeared between Lin Feng and Song Tsanghai. Bang! This person exchanged a palm with Song Tsanghai. They were evenly matched. At this time, Lin Feng saw the person who had acted. It was the deacon of Changhe branch, Yang Jianghe. "Yang Jianghe, how dare you stop me?" Song Tsanghai said gloomily. "Song Tsanghai, don't go too far. You were the notary for Lin Feng and Bai Yifei's life and death agreement. Bai Yifei was no match for Lin Feng and was killed, so you want to kill Lin Feng? What kind of logic is this?" Yang Jianghe said coldly. Now that Lin Feng had joined the Changhe branch, Yang Jianghe, as the deacon of the Changhe branch, would naturally ensure Lin Feng's safety. "Yang Jianghe, you should consider your own worth. Is it worth it to offend me and the Bai clan for a brat like him?" Song Tsanghai threatened. Song Tsanghai alone wasn't enough to scare Yang Jianghe, but the Bai clan was a colossus. Yang Jianghe couldn't help but frown. Lin Feng's talent was astonishing. Perhaps he would have unimaginable achievements in the future. If he offended Song Tsanghai, so be it. Thinking of this, Yang Jianghe sneered. "Are you threatening me, Deacon Song? You're a deacon of Jialan Academy. Yet you want to kill a student in front of so many people? Do you think Jialan Academy's rules are just for show? I only need to report this to the enforcement court. Even if you have the Bai clan behind you, you'll still be expelled from Jialan Academy." Song Tsanghai's expression became extremely gloomy. Yang Jianghe's words had hit the nail on the head. He had no choice but to take Song Tsanghai's words into consideration. "Very good, Yang Jianghe. I'll remember what happened today." Song Tsanghai glanced coldly at Yang Jianghe before turning his gaze to Lin Feng. He said gloomily, "Little bastard, you're lucky today. But remember, sooner or later, something bad will happen." Yang Jianghe was protecting Lin Feng, so Song Tsanghai knew he couldn't do anything to him. He left with Bai Yifei's corpse and left. "Thank you very much, Deacon Yang." Lin Feng clasped his fist and thanked him. Yang Jianghe patted Lin Feng's shoulder and said, "The Bai clan is very influential in Jialan City. They even have a lot of influence in Jialan Academy. You've killed Bai Ife, so you have to be careful. The Bai clan won't let this matter rest. Lin Feng said, I was already prepared before I killed Bai Ife. Yang Jianghe looked at Lin Feng in surprise. He had thought Lin Feng had acted on impulse, but now it seemed that he had already considered the consequences. Aren't you afraid of the Bai clan's revenge? Asked Yang Jianghe. Lin Feng said, a real man should repay his debts. Since I've already offended Bai Ife, he won't let me off, and I won't let him off either. I'll just kill him and get rid of a big problem. As for Songhai and the others from the Bai clan, I'll deal with whatever comes my way. When the time comes, we won't know who will win. When Yang Jianghe saw how confident Lin Feng was, he was astonished. A hidden dragon rises from the abyss. Chapter 13. The inner courtyard was located in the depths of Jialan Academy, surrounded by a continuous chain of mountains. The inner courtyard was built in the depths of the mountains. Changhe Branch was located in a beautiful forest. Some palaces were built on top of the mountains. They were majestic and imposing, like the palaces of immortals. The next day, Lin Feng went to Changhe Branch. You must be Lin Feng. At the foot of the mountain, a beautiful girl smiled sweetly when she saw Lin Feng. She was about 15 or 16 years old, about the same age as Lin Feng, but she had already grown into a slender and elegant girl. I'm Lin Feng. How should I address you? Lin Feng cupped his fists. Hee, I'm Gongyang Xiaoxian. You can call me Sister Xian. Said the girl with a smile. The young girl said with a smile, revealing two beautiful dimples. Lin Feng looked at Gongyang Xiaoxian, who was a head shorter than him. He couldn't bring himself to call her Sister Xian. He said, you look younger than me. We're about the same age, so I'll call you Xiaoxian. Gongyang Xiaoxian pouted and pinched Lin Feng's cheek. You're asking for a beating. How dare you be so rude to me? Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, all right, Sister Xian, let go of me. Someone's watching. Gongyang Xiaoxian looked around and stuck out her tongue. She let go of Lin Feng and said, come with me to see the old man. Old man? Who's that? Asked Lin Feng, suspiciously. You'll know when we get there. Gongyang Xiaoxian smiled. The girl was full of youthfulness and joy. After chatting with her for a while, Lin Feng felt that his mood had been affected by her. He couldn't help but feel happy. Gongyang Xiaoxian brought Lin Feng to a palace halfway up the mountain. Old man, Lin Feng is here. Stupid girl, how dare you be so impudent? Is that how you talk to your grandfather? A voice that didn't know whether to laugh or cry came from the palace. Gongyang Xiaoxian stuck out her tongue and said, Humph, I've brought him here. I have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. After saying that, he ran off like a wisp of smoke. Lin Feng immediately rolled his eyes. He now felt that this girl, Gongyang Xiaoxian, might be younger than him. She was too lively. Lin Feng, come in. A voice came from the palace. Lin Feng walked in. This palace was very spacious. There was an old man sitting cross-legged in the middle of the palace. He was the Long River Branch Vice Dean, Gong Yangming. Vice Dean. Lin Feng bowed. I don't have that many formalities here. It's better to be casual. Come, sit beside me. Gong Yangming said with a smile, looking very benevolent. Lin Feng sat down next to Gong Yangming. I already know about what happened between you and Bai Ife, and I've already warned the Bai clan. They'd better behave and don't try anything funny. On the surface, the Bai clan agreed, but secretly they won't be honest. But don't worry. With me here, those old bastards won't dare do anything, said Gong Yangming. Don't worry. Thank you very much, Vice Dean, said Lin Feng gratefully. As long as the Bai clan didn't do anything, Lin Feng knew that the threat to him would be greatly reduced. Haha, I think highly of you. This is a bottle of great strength dragon pills. There are 10 pills in total. They're made of 1,000-year-old medicinal herbs. Once you take them, they'll be of great help to your cultivation. Take them. Gong Yangming gave a bottle of pills to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was shocked. He had heard of the great strength dragon pill before. It was extremely rare and priceless. The price of one pill was raised to 50,000 silver taels. It was definitely not something a small family like Lin Feng could buy. Now, Gong Yangming actually gave him 10 pills. The treatment of talented disciples in the academy was indeed different. Those ordinary disciples wouldn't have a treasure like the great strength dragon pill. Lin Feng accepted the great strength dragon pill and said solemnly, "Disciple will definitely work hard and not disappoint the vice dean's expectations. The path of cultivation is extremely difficult. I'm sure that in the future, you'll achieve extraordinary things and bring glory to the Long River Group. I'll arrange a place for you to stay. Tomorrow, you can go to the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion and choose a skill to practice. In the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion, there are 12 low-level Xian skills and 1 medium-level Xian skill. I suggest you practice a low-level Xian skill first. You'll have to practice a low-level Xian skill first. Yes, disciple will remember." Lin Feng said. "At first, you come in." Gong Yangming shouted. A skinny disciple walked in. "At first, this is your junior brother, Lin Feng. In the future, Lin Feng will live with you. Take care of him." "Yes, Vice Dean." Lin Feng said goodbye to Gong Yangming and left with Zhang Shiqi. Zhang Shiqi was very skinny, but he was very handsome. Zhang Shiqi said, "Junior brother, I've heard of your name. During the battle, you killed Bai Yifei. It was really satisfying. However, one of Bai Yifei's elders is an elder of the Purple Light Academy. He has a high position, and the Bai clan is very powerful. You have to be careful." "Senior brother, don't worry. I will be careful." Lin Feng nodded. The two of them talked and laughed as they arrived at their residence. Zhang Shiqi and Lin Feng lived in a small courtyard. Zhang Shiqi arranged a room for Lin Feng. "Junior brother, I live next door to you. If there's anything, you can come to me. I'll take you around and let you familiarize yourself with our Long River branch." "Okay, thank you, senior brother. We're brothers, there's no need to be polite. It's my first time here, so I won't disturb you anymore." Zhang Shiqi left. Lin Feng tidied up the room and then sat cross-legged on the bed. He couldn't wait to take out the Great Strength Hidden Dragon Pill. "I wonder if 10 Great Strength Hidden Dragon Pills will be enough for me to break through." Lin Feng was looking forward to it. He swallowed the Great Strength Hidden Dragon Pill and then activated the ancient dragonesque elephant art to refine the medicinal power of the Great Strength Hidden Dragon Pill. More than 10 hours passed. Boom! Lin Feng's body emitted a terrifying aura. That aura was restrained. "I've finally broken through to the 7th layer of the warrior realm." Lin Feng punched out. His fist was like thunder. He exhaled, and his chi turned into a sword. His fist was like thunder, and his breath was like a sword. This was the sign of his strength reaching 10,000 jin. Chapter 14. The Hidden Scriptures Pavilion was an important place in the university. Zhang Qi brought Lin Feng to the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion. "I can't enter the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion right now. You're the only one who can enter. I'll wait outside," said Zhang Qi. "All right." Lin Feng nodded. He entered the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion. "Someone's here. Someone's here." Lin Feng had just entered when he heard a sharp cry. Lin Feng looked in the direction of the voice and was astonished. It was a 3-meter-tall gigantic bird, and surprisingly, it could talk. "A monster!" shouted Lin Feng. It was rumored that some demons were able to speak the human language when they cultivated divine powers. Of course, monsters of that level were very strong. "Where are you, monster? Don't eat me! Don't eat me!" The bird was so scared that it lay on the ground and covered its eyes with its wings. It begged loudly. Lin Feng's mouth twitched when he saw the bird's reaction. It didn't seem to be a monster. How could there be such a weak monster? "I'm talking about you," said Lin Feng to the bird. "You're the monster. Your whole family are monsters. I'm the handsome 8th brother." The giant bird bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Lin Feng touched his chin and mumbled, "Is there really such a big 8th brother?" "Brat, are you doubting your 8th brother's words?" said the 8th brother, glaring at Lin Feng. "Damn bird, get the hell out of here." At this moment, a large shoe sole was thrown over and smashed directly on the giant bird's head. "It stinks! It stinks!" shouted the bird unhappily. "If you disturb my sleep again, I'll roast you," said a chubby fatso. "Don't eat me! Don't eat me! Meat stinks! Meat stinks!" Ju Niao screamed as he ran out. "Disciple Lin Feng is here to choose a skill," said Lin Feng. The chubby old man's eyes lit up as he said, "You're the one who shined during the inner courtyard exam. Not bad, not bad. You're much more pleasing to the eye than I expected. Long River Branch is doing very well this year. They managed to recruit a genius like you. When the great competition of the 4 academies starts, we'll have to rely on students like you to win back some face for Long River Branch." The fat old man led the way. "Senior, how should I address you?" asked Lin Feng. "You can call me Elder Tian Xian," said the fat old man. "Senior, what was that giant bird just now? How could it speak human language? It said it was a bird. Is there such a big bird in the world?" asked Lin Feng. Speaking of this bird, Elder Tian Xian had a very helpless expression and said, "10 years ago, I encountered a spirit bird in the wild forest. At that time, it was only the size of a palm and could speak. I thought it was a demonic beast with intelligence, so I brought it back to the academy. Who would have thought that this damn bird only knew how to talk, eat, and be lazy? It didn't know anything else." "Ah, fatso, don't talk bad about me," shouted the bird unhappily. "Impudent, I'll cook you tonight," shouted Elder Tian Xian. "I was wrong. Please don't cook me," begged the bird again. Lin Feng followed Elder Tian Xian to the pavilion. The scripture pavilion was divided into yellow rank and mystic rank skills. There were more than 1,000 yellow rank skills on the first floor. The yellow rank was further divided into 4 levels: elementary, middle, high, and peak. Normally, new students that entered the inner court were only able to obtain yellow rank martial skills. Only those who had made great contributions to the academy would be able to obtain profound rank martial skills as a reward. However, Lin Feng's talent was shocking. The Changhe branch obviously wanted to nurture Lin Feng. That was why Gong Yangming had given Lin Feng 10 vigorous dragon pills and asked Lin Feng to choose a mystic rank skill. All the mystic rank skills are here. Elder Tian Xian brought Lin Feng to the 2nd floor. There were more than 10 scrolls on the bookshelf. Lin Feng walked up to the scrolls and opened the first one. Autumn Rain Sword Technique. Autumn is cold, and the evening rain falls. The sword condenses frost, and the sword intent is like autumn rain. The Autumn Rain Sword Technique was created by a woman, and it carried the sadness of autumn. Lin Feng put down the Autumn Rain Sword Technique and picked up the 2nd scroll. Berserk Sword Technique. Gather all the pure qi in the body and condense it into a violent sword qi. Once used, The sword chi will cover the sky and cover the earth and kill the enemy. Sword drawing technique. Speed is important. The enemy can only see the light of the sword before their head falls to the ground. Spring silk sword technique. Lin Feng looked through the scrolls one by one. They were all elementary, yellow rank sword techniques. Each sword technique was extremely powerful and had its own unique characteristics. Lin Feng picked up the last scroll and opened it. Great Sun Long River Sword Technique, middle mystic rank. When this sword technique is cultivated to the peak, the sword chi will be like a long river. The Great Sun Long River Sword Technique was the treasure of the college. Which one should I choose? Lin Feng frowned. Suddenly, his gaze turned to a corner. There was another scroll in the corner. It seemed that no one had touched it for a long time. There was a layer of dust on it. Lin Feng was confused and opened the scroll. Scorching Sun Sword Technique, a legendary Earth rank sword technique. When mastered, the sun will rise into the sky. One slash will be like the sun descending into the world. It has the power to destroy the world. Earth rank. Lin Feng was shocked. This level of sword technique was definitely legendary. Elder Tianxian narrowed his eyes and said, "This scorching sun sword technique was known as the #1 sword technique in the Zhenwu country. However, it is incomplete. Anyone who cultivates the scorching sun sword technique will not be able to control the scorching sun sword chi in their body and explode. I advise you to put down this scroll and choose another one. Incomplete sword technique." Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. Just as he was about to put down the scroll, the mysterious bead in Lin Feng's dantian suddenly emitted a slight fluctuation. Lin Feng was shocked. The mysterious bead in his dantian had a strange origin, but it was closely related to his transformation. Now, the bead was acting strangely. Could it be because of the scorching sun sword technique? Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He said, "Elder, I have decided to choose the scorching sun sword technique." Humph, young people are full of themselves. They won't turn back until they hit a wall. Elder Tianxian snorted coldly. He seemed a little angry, but then he said, "Fine. Since you want to cultivate it, go ahead and practice it. If you find that you can't control the sword chi in your body, stop immediately and come back. I will give you another sword technique to cultivate." Lin Feng was touched. Elder Tianxian was giving him a second chance to choose a sword technique. This was against the rules of the sect. Elder Tianxian must have put in a lot of effort to do so. "Thank you, Elder. I will remember." Lin Feng and Elder Tianxian went outside. The giant bird cried out, I'm out. It's so hot outside." "Shut up, stupid bird." Elder Tianxian glared fiercely at the bird. I'll shut up. The giant bird looked at Elder Tianxian with a fawning expression. "I will take my leave now." Lin Feng said goodbye to Elder Tianxian and left. "Junior brother, which sword technique did you choose? Sword drawing technique, or 9 Immortals flying celestial sword technique, or berserk sword technique? These sword techniques have their own characteristics among the profound level sword techniques. They are very powerful and suitable for us to cultivate." Zhang Shiqi smiled. "This sword technique." Lin Feng handed the scroll to Zhang Shiqi. Zhang Qi glanced at it and exclaimed, "The Scorching Sun Sword Technique. Rumor has it that the Scorching Sun Sword Technique is an Earth-class sword technique with boundless power. However, this sword technique is impossible to cultivate. Why did Junior Brother choose this sword technique? Junior Brother, let's go back and beg for mercy and choose another one." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Senior Brother, don't worry. I'm just studying it. If I find something wrong, I will immediately stop cultivating it." Elder Tianxian also said that if I can't cultivate it, I can change to another sword technique. If you can change to another sword technique, that's fine. Zhang Shiqi nodded and handed the sword technique to Lin Feng. After returning to his room, Lin Feng opened the Scorching Sun sword technique in his room. This sword technique is missing a part. It's obviously incomplete. It's impossible to cultivate it, but the mysterious demonic orb is acting strangely because of this sword technique. I wonder why. Lin Feng thought. Buzz. At that moment, the demonic orb in Lin Feng's dantian moved slightly. Then a ray of demonic light shot out and shone on the Scorching Sun sword technique scroll. Whoosh! Words floated in the air. The golden words were exactly the same as the words on the Scorching Sun sword technique scroll. However, what shocked Lin Feng was that the sword technique floating in the air automatically filled in the missing parts of the scroll. Lin Feng exclaimed, "The mysterious demonic orb filled in the missing parts of the Scorching Sun sword technique. That's unbelievable." Chapter 15. It was quiet in the forest. Lin Feng was practicing the Scorching Sun sword skill. The Scorching Sun sword skill was violent. Once it exploded, its attacks would be endless. After a month of hard work, he had finally made some progress in the Scorching Sun sword skill. During this time, Lin Feng and the new students would go to the lecture hall every morning to listen to the inner court elders' lectures. In the afternoon, they would be free to practice. The inner court elders were all martial masters. They were extremely strong and knowledgeable. After a period of study, Lin Feng felt that he had benefited a lot. In the blink of an eye, Lin Feng had been in the inner court for a month. One morning, Lin Feng and Zhang Shiqi went to the spiritual medicine hall to get some pills. The inner court disciples could get pills at the beginning of each month to help with their cultivation. In front of the spiritual medicine hall, there were many people. The disciples of the Purple Light College, the Long River College, the Star College, and the Luo Yu College had all come to get pills. Brother, the disciples of the inner courtyard are also divided into different ranks. For example, the top 10 disciples of the inner courtyard can receive 30 great strength hidden dragon pills. The top 100 disciples can also receive 15 great strength hidden dragon pills. The disciples below the top 100 can only receive ordinary qi replenishing pills. 100 qi replenishing pills aren't as effective as one great strength hidden dragon pill. Therefore, the competition between the disciples of the inner courtyard is extremely intense. There's a competition every half a year, and each time, the disciples of the inner courtyard will be ranked again. At that time, everybody will show their abilities and try to get a good ranking. The higher the ranking, the more benefits you'll receive. Zhang Shiqi said. Lin Feng nodded. He had been in the inner court for a month and already understood the situation. There were many geniuses in the inner court, but the competition was fierce. The outer court disciples couldn't compare to it. After a short time, Lin Feng and Zhang Shiqi also got their pills. The two of them went back to the Long River College. But at that moment, a group of people surrounded them. They were wearing the Purple Light College's uniform. Oh no, it's Bai Xianyang. He's a direct descendant of the Bai clan. I'll stop them. You run. Zhang Shiqi's expression changed. Run? Do you think you can escape? The leading young master suddenly sneered. His men surrounded Lin Feng and Zhang Qi so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Bai Xianyang, this is the Spirit Herb Palace. Fighting is forbidden here. Why are you surrounding us? Although Zhang Qi was scared to death, he still forced himself to say it. Zhang Shitty, you're getting bold, aren't you? How dare you question this young master? Today, I don't have time to deal with trash like you. Scram to the side. Bai Xianyang scolded coldly. Zhang Shiqi's expression turned ugly after being humiliated like this. He clenched his teeth and said, "By Xianyang, I know you're targeting junior brother Lin, but as long as I'm here, don't even think about touching him. Who do you think you are? How dare you meddle in this young master's business? Do you believe that I won't break your legs?" Bai Xuanyang's face turned cold. "Look, it's Bai Xianyang and the others from the Violet Light Institution. The one surrounded seems to be Zhang Shiqi from the Long River Institution. Who's the other guy?" "The other guy is called Lin Feng. During the inner courtyard exam, he fought Bai Yifei to the death. He killed Bai Yifei with one punch. He's that audacious Lin Feng. This is going to be interesting. Nothing good will come out of offending the Bai family. Bai Xianyang is a fighter of the 10th firmament. He's very strong. Now that Bai Xianyang is here, Lin Feng is doomed." Many students around them were talking about this. They looked at Lin Feng with pity. Swoosh! At that moment, Bai Xianyang moved and walked towards Lin Feng. Although he was scared to death, Zhang Shiqi still stood in front of Lin Feng to protect him. Lin Feng was very touched. However, Lin Feng didn't want to get Zhang Shiqi into trouble. Zhang Shiqi was a fighter of the 8th firmament. Although he was very strong, he was still too weak compared to Bai Xianyang. "Senior brother, I'll deal with this." Lin Feng jumped out and looked at Bai Xianyang coldly. "If you have any problems, just come at me. Don't make things difficult for others." "Good, very good. At least you have some backbone. My cousin, Bai Yifei, died at your hands. You dared to kill a member of the Bai family. Even if you die 10,000 times, you won't be able to atone for your crimes. Since the inner courtyard forbids disciples from killing each other, I won't kill you today. I'll break your limbs and cripple you." Bai Xianyang sneered. Boom! A terrifying aura emitted from his body and enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng immediately felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him. He couldn't move at all. This was the terror of a fighter of the 10th firmament. His aura was as heavy as a mountain. "Kneel!" Bai Xianyang shouted coldly. He actually wanted to force Lin Feng to kneel in front of him. Obviously, he wanted to humiliate Lin Feng. That terrifying qi was oppressing Lin Feng. Lin Feng's legs were shaking. "Who do you think you are? How dare you make me kneel?" Lin Feng's veins bulged as he struggled to resist the terrifying aura. The difference between them is too big. Many people shook their heads helplessly. They couldn't help but feel sad for Lin Feng. He had offended a member of the Bai family. His fate was sealed. Bai Xuanyang's face darkened when he saw that Lin Feng had resisted his aura and even dared to speak rudely to him. To the proud and arrogant Bai Xianyang, Lin Feng had resisted his aura and didn't kneel. This was tantamount to slapping him in the face. Speaking rudely to him was a great sin. Swish! Bai Xianyang moved, his voice cold. "I'd like to see how tough your bones are." He kicked Lin Feng's calf, trying to force Lin Feng to kneel. "Bai Xianyang, you're so impressive." At that moment, a cold snort was heard. Thump, 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 thump. Bai Xianyang was forced to take 4 steps back. A tall and alluring woman with a cold face and a stunning appearance walked over. "It's Xiao Yifei," many people exclaimed, and many students looked at the woman with awe. Eldest senior sister. Zhang Qi was pleasantly surprised when he saw Xiao Yifei. Eldest senior sister, Xiao Yifei of Changhe Branch. After Lin Feng had joined Changhe Branch, he had heard of Xiao Yifei. She was ranked 3rd out of 100,000 students in Jialan Academy. She was also the only one in the top 10. Bai Xianyang, who gave you the courage to attack a disciple of Changhe Branch in the inner courtyard, Xiao Yifei said coldly. Bai Xuanyang's face darkened when he saw Xiao Yifei. Xiao Yifei was from the Xiao family of Jialan City. The Xiao family was as powerful as the Bai family. And Xiao Yifei was much stronger than Bai Xianyang. Bai Xianyang obviously wouldn't provoke Xiao Yifei. "Brat, you're lucky. I'll spare your life today, but you won't be so lucky the next time you see me." Bai Xianyang sneered. He waved his hand and was about to leave with the other students of Purple Light Academy. A cold voice suddenly said, "In 3 months, we'll fight in the life and death arena of the inner courtyard." "What? Life and death arena of the inner courtyard? Is Lin Feng crazy?" Many people cried out in shock. Lin Feng was only at the 6th celestial layer of the fighter realm. Bai Xianyang was at the 10th celestial layer of the fighter realm. Lin Feng might not be able to catch up to Bai Xianyang in 3 years, let alone 3 months. In many people's eyes, Lin Feng was courting death by challenging Bai Xianyang. Chapter 16. Roar. In the ancient desolate forest, a giant tiger that was more than 10 meters long roared. A young man jumped down from a big tree and fought the giant tiger with his bare hands. This young man was Lin Feng, who had entered the desolate forest to train. Lin Feng had to increase his cultivation level as soon as possible, since he had a battle to the death with Bai Xianyang in 3 months. On the 2nd day of the battle, he received a mission to hunt ferocious beasts at the mission hall and entered the vast, desolate forest. The reward for hunting ferocious beasts was generous. He could exchange the inner cores of the ferocious beasts for chi replenishing pills. The higher the grade of the ferocious beast's inner core, the more chi replenishing pills one could exchange for. Lin Feng was killing 2 birds with 1 stone by collecting ferocious beasts' inner cores while training. This giant tiger had a strength of about 10,000 kilograms and was extremely ferocious. Lin Feng fought with it for dozens of rounds before he found an opportunity to injure the giant tiger. The giant tiger was no match for Lin Feng and fled. Lin Feng did not chase after it. He looked for a place to recover his exhausted strength. This was already the 15th day since Lin Feng entered the desolate forest. Every day, he would experience several battles of life and death. There were several times when Lin Feng almost died under the claws of the ferocious beasts. However, Lin Feng managed to escape each time. Time flew by. Another 10 days passed. After several battles of life and death, Lin Feng vaguely felt that he was about to break through. Training in the midst of life and death was the best way to increase one's strength. Roar. At this moment, in a forest, a roar shook the sky. A 2-headed lion was fighting with Lin Feng. This 2-headed lion was 5 meters long and 3 meters tall. It had immense strength and was extremely fast. The 2-headed lion was equivalent to a human martial artist of the 7th firmament. However, ferocious beasts of the same level were much stronger than human martial artists. This was because ferocious beasts were born with an advantage. The 2-headed lion that was fighting with Lin Feng had a strength of about 12,000 kilograms. A swipe of its claws could instantly shatter a huge rock. Golden monkey fishing for the moon. Flood dragon emerging from the sea. Divine elephant hell-shocking. Total annihilation. One after another, powerful martial skills were displayed by Lin Feng. Finally, Lin Feng found an opportunity. He flashed to the left side of the 2-headed lion and threw a punch. Bang! Lin Feng punched the back of the 2-headed lion. Crack, crack. The 2-headed lion's bones were broken. Roar! The ferocious beast let out a painful roar. It turned around and rushed into the distance, trying to escape. Can you escape? Lin Feng sneered and chased after him. Boom, 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 3 consecutive punches. Azure dragon spits water. The mantis stalks the cicada. Dragon fights in the wild. After 3 punches, the two-headed lion roared at the sky. Then, its huge body collapsed to the ground, dead. Phew! Lin Feng calmed his inner breath, then took out a dagger and dug out the two-headed lion's inner core. He got up and was about to leave. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a series of sonic booms came from afar. Someone's coming? Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't want to cause trouble, so he quickly rushed into the distance. But it was too late. Stop! A cold voice came from behind. Shouted a voice from behind. 5 or 6 cultivators had already arrived. All of them were releasing a monstrous chi, especially the leader of the group. His chi was deep and profound. Each and every one of his movements was accompanied by the sound of thunder. His chi was sharp like a sword. Even though they were far away, Lin Feng could still feel the pressure. A warrior of the 9th celestial layer. Lin Feng was shocked. He stopped and said, "Why did you stop me?" The leader looked at the two-headed lion on the ground and said, "You're quite strong to be able to kill the two-headed lion. Come with us." "Follow you to where?" Lin Feng frowned and asked, "Come with us to see Third Young Master." The leading cultivator said coldly. Lin Feng originally wanted to refuse, but when he saw the cold gazes of this group of people and how fierce they looked, he knew that he would be surrounded and attacked if he refused. Moreover, Lin Feng also wanted to see what this group of people was up to. He nodded and said, "All right, lead the way." The group of people rushed into the distance. They headed straight for a lake about 10 kilometers away. Screech! When they were about 2 kilometers away from the lake, a sharp, ear-piercing cry suddenly came from the direction of the lake. Following that, 100-meter-long monster rushed out of the lake. The monster had a pair of huge wings, and its wriggling body was like a snake or a dragon. There was a bulge on its head that looked like a horn was about to emerge. There were also 4 bulges on its abdomen that looked like claws were about to grow. Winged serpent. Lin Feng was shocked. He had read the classic of mountains and seas. According to the classic of mountains and seas, the winged serpent's body was like a snake, but it had the wings of an ancient winged dragon. It was extremely fast and had a savage temperament. It was a demonic serpent with a trace of ancient winged dragon blood flowing through its veins. This was a true demonic serpent. Demonic serpents were intelligent and knew how to cultivate. In the future, if their cultivation was high enough, they would be able to speak the human language and even take human form. The winged serpent has appeared. Let's hurry, the leader of the cultivators shouted in a low voice. Lin Feng and the others sped up and arrived at the lakeside. "Save me! Save me!" They could hear the cries for help from far away. There were 5 or 6 cultivators tied up by the lakeside. The winged serpent was rushing towards them. Prepare to fire the arrows. In the forest, there were more than 10 people lying in wait. The leader was a young man. When the winged serpent rushed to the lakeside, he shouted a warning. The winged serpent quickly rushed over and opened its bloody mouth, swallowing the tied cultivators in one gulp. "Fire!" The young man waved his hand. Whoosh, 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 the cultivators hidden in the forest released arrows towards the winged serpent. However, the winged serpent was very fast. After swallowing the cultivators, its body directly dove into the lake and disappeared. Damn it, the winged serpent got away again. The young man's expression was gloomy. "Young master, we're back." The cultivators who brought Lin Feng here greeted the young man. How many people did you catch?" The young man asked. "Young master, there are very few people in the vicinity. We only caught 1 person." The leader of the cultivators said. The young man frowned slightly and said, "Bring him here." "Brat, come here." The leader of the cultivators pointed at Lin Feng and shouted. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He had clearly seen the scene just now. These people were obviously using people as bait to lure the winged serpent out. Their methods were extremely cruel. "Spare us, young master, please spare us." Not far away, there were more than 10 tied-up cultivators. Their faces were very pale as they constantly begged. These people were all bait caught by the young man's group. "Shut up. If anyone dares to talk, just kill them." The young man's expression was cold. The tied-up cultivators' faces were deathly pale. Their bodies trembled, and their faces were filled with despair. However, they did not dare to beg for mercy. This was because there were a few corpses lying in front of them. They were all cultivators who had tried to escape or shout, and were stabbed to death by the young man's group. Chapter 17. The white-robed young master was sitting on a golden chair. Behind him was a bewitching woman who was giving him a massage. The bewitching woman's voice was filled with seduction as she asked, "Young master, is it comfortable?" "Ha ha, very good. Little slut, let me have some fun." The white-robed young master directly embraced the bewitching woman in his arms. His right hand reached into the clothes of the bewitching woman and began to fondle her. The bewitching woman let out a series of moans. To do such a thing in broad daylight, without any restraint, it was truly too promiscuous. "The jungle is so big, and you only caught one person. You're disappointing me," said the young man in white clothes. The young man in white clothes was enjoying himself and talking icily. The cultivators around him turned pale and hastily said, "Prince, the savage forest is too big, so the cultivators who came here are scattered. We've already caught more than 100 people. We can't find more in this area. If we want to catch more people, we'll have to go farther to find our targets. That winged snake is extremely cunning. He ate more than 100 people, and we still haven't caught him. Tie them all up and bait him. This time we must succeed," said the young man in white clothes icily. "Spare us, young master. Please spare us." When the cultivators who had been tied up heard that they were about to become winged snake's bait, they all started begging loudly. "Begging for mercy is useless. That's all you lowly people can do," said the young man in white clothes. "He killed people as if they were wheat. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and tie that little boy up," said the young man in white clothes icily. "Yes, young master." A cultivator jumped up and landed next to Lin Feng. He tried to grab Lin Feng. Lin Feng turned his head and looked at that cultivator. It was one of the cultivators who had brought him here. Lin Feng smiled icily. He waved his right hand and used the great saint's chopping technique on that cultivator's chest. That cultivator gave a horrible shriek and was blown 30 meters away. He fell heavily on the ground and twitched a few times. He couldn't move anymore. He had no qi. Lin Feng had crushed his internal organs. He had died on the spot. "You helped the tyrant and harmed people. You deserve to die." A cold voice suddenly resounded in the forest. The whole forest was silent. Everyone was dumbstruck. The cultivator, who had been killed by Lin Feng, was at the 7th celestial layer. Lin Feng, a 15-year-old young man, had punched a cultivator at the 7th celestial layer dozens of meters away, and he had been killed on the spot. It was really shocking. "Oh, I didn't expect you to be so strong." The young man didn't get angry when he saw that his subordinates had been killed. Instead, he smiled and waved his hand. "All of you, attack. Don't kill him, capture him alive. I'll feed him to winged serpent and let him experience what it's like to be swallowed whole. Kill." Immediately, more than 10 cultivators surrounded Lin Feng. They were all very fast and had fierce gazes. Even though Lin Feng had shown that he was extremely strong, these people weren't afraid. Firstly, they had the advantage in numbers. Secondly, These people thought that their companions had been careless and had been caught off guard by Lin Feng. More than 10 cultivators quickly surrounded Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng moved. He did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward and rushed towards the cultivators. "Little brother, run. You are not a match for these people. Little brother, run for your life. Otherwise, you will be eaten by the snake." The cultivators who were tied up all shouted loudly. Although they might be fed to the winged serpent soon, they did not want to see Lin Feng suffer like them. Facing the siege of more than 10 cultivators, Lin Feng was like a gust of wind. He was extremely fast. He rushed into the crowd and flashed around. The other party had all kinds of weapons in their hands, such as sabers, swords, and so on. They were all slashed towards Lin Feng. They were all easily dodged by Lin Feng. Lin Feng leisurely walked through the crowd, dodging the attacks of these cultivators. Slap, slap, slap. Then the sound of a loud slap was heard continuously. One cultivator after another was sent flying. Lin Feng was in the crowd. He slapped a person flying. Lin Feng's current strength had reached 12,800 jin. One could imagine how terrifying the strength of this slap was. One cultivator after another was sent flying. Lin Feng had slapped them so hard that their faces were bruised. These cultivators let out incomparably shrill screams. They fell to the ground and wailed happily. There were even some who were directly slapped to death by Lin Feng. "Oh my God, what did I just see? Is this real?" The cultivators who were tied up cried out in disbelief. These were all elite cultivators. Each of their cultivation was at least at the 7th firmament of martial artist. There were even a few 8th firmament of martial artist experts. However, they couldn't even withstand one move from Lin Feng. The white-clothed young master's face also became gloomy. He said coldly, "Brat, you actually killed so many of my subordinates. You deserve to die 10,000 times. Those who helped the tyrant kill." Lin Feng said coldly, "Zhang Kuang, kill him." The white-clothed young master ordered. The only cultivator who was still standing was the cultivator who made Lin Feng feel danger. This person's cultivation was at the 9th level of the warrior realm. His strength was unfathomable. "Young master, don't worry. I will definitely let this brat die without a burial place." Zhang Kuang received the order. He laughed sinisterly and rushed towards Lin Feng. Berserk God's fist skill. Zhang Kuang shouted loudly and used a powerful fist skill. As soon as this fist skill was used, Zhang Kuang's body emitted a wild and tyrannical qi. He was invincible. "Brat, if you die under my Berserk God's fist skill, you can die in peace." Zhang Kuang's face was filled with a sinister smile. This was a low-level profound level martial skill. It was extremely powerful. After Zhang Kuang had obtained this Berserk God's fist skill, he had never lost a single battle. This person's strength has reached 25,600 jin. It's double of mine. Lin Feng's face showed a trace of seriousness. However, Lin Feng didn't retreat. Lin Feng felt that the young master was even stronger than Zhang Kuang. If he couldn't get rid of Zhang Kuang when the young master attacked, he would definitely die. "Little brother, this person is at the 9th level of the warrior realm. Run quickly." The cultivators who were tied up shouted loudly and looked at Lin Feng worriedly. Lin Feng didn't run away. Instead, he rushed towards Zhang Kuang. Devouring martial spirit, ancient dragonesque elephant skill. Lin Feng instantly used his strongest attack. Although Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit didn't have any attacking power, it had a strong restrictive power. When Zhang Kuang arrived beside Lin Feng immediately used his devouring martial spirit, a black, hole flew out of Lin Feng's dantian and covered a 1-meter radius around him. This was the limit that Lin Feng could release at this stage. However, this was enough. Zhang Kuang was shrouded in the black hole, and his movements were greatly hindered. His speed was greatly reduced, and his strength was also greatly weakened by Lin Feng's black hole. Lin Feng shouted and used the ancient dragonesque elephant skill. A tyrannical punch instantly struck towards Zhang Kuang. Bang! Lin Feng and Zhang Kuang fiercely attacked each other. The strength of the dragonesque elephant was completely released. Crack! Zhang Kuang's arm was directly broken. Lin Feng's explosive punch didn't lose its momentum and fiercely hit Zhang Kuang's chest. Chapter 18. Too strong. So strong. The cultivators who were tied up cried out in shock, their eyes flashing with hope. Huh! The young man's expression changed slightly. Previously, he hadn't taken Lin Feng seriously at all. But when Lin Feng killed Zhang Kuang, he knew that he had underestimated Lin Feng. Young master, I'm afraid. The beautiful woman next to the young man said in a sweet voice, little b asterisk tch, I'm here. Don't be afraid. The white-clothed man squeezed the seductive woman's breasts and then stood up from the golden chair. Boy, even Zhang Kuang died at your hands. You've made me suffer a great loss. Today, I'll crush your bones and scatter your ashes. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent my anger. The young man sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, a ray of light shot out from his dantian. Buzz. A huge bow floated in the middle of the light. Magical bow. Lin Feng was shocked. The so-called magical bow was a huge bow engraved with a spiritual array. It was said that it could easily release tens of thousands of Gina force. Clearly, the white-clothed man was carrying a powerful magic bow. The young man was afraid of Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit, so he chose to use a long-range magical bow to attack Lin Feng. You have good eyesight. Eat my arrow. The white-clothed young master laughed sinisterly. The ring on his right index finger flashed, and a basket of arrows appeared in the white-clothed young master's hand. The young man stabbed the quiver into the ground and took out an arrow. Storage ring. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The storage ring was said to be the greatest invention of a spiritual array master. It had a huge space inside and could store things. Whoosh! The young man drew his bow and shot an arrow. With a violent sound of breaking through the air, the terrifying arrow shot over. Lin Feng quickly moved to the right and dodged the arrow. 9-star alignment. The prince in white clothes pulled back his bow and started shooting arrows at Lin Feng, one after another. 9 arrows were shot out once again. Lin Feng dodged to the left and dodged to the right, avoiding 5 arrows. Still, 4 arrows were shot at him. It was a dangerous moment. Swish! Lin Feng pulled out the sword on his back and slashed at the arrows. Kung, 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 kung. The sound of metal clashing could be heard as sword chi swept across the world. The 4 incoming arrows were all cut down by Lin Feng. Brat, you have some skills. Eat my spear. The white-clothed young master's face darkened. He suddenly stomped his foot, and his body shot out. He quickly arrived in front of Lin Feng. A long spear appeared in his hand. The white-robed young master's wrist suddenly shook, and the long spear was like a whip, fiercely whipping towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng swung his sword to block. Clang! The spear and the sword collided. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt a terrifying force pass through the sword and into his body. That terrifying power shook Lin Feng back repeatedly. His chi and blood roiled, and his face turned pale. This person probably has a strength of 30,000 Jin. Lin Feng's face darkened slightly. As soon as they exchanged blows, he felt the white-clothed young master's strength. It was too terrifying. It was much stronger than Zhang Kuang, who was killed by him before. Ha! A mere 10,000 gene of strength. I really overestimated you. I'll take your dog life in 3 moves. The white-clothed young master obviously had a rough idea of Lin Feng's strength. His face suddenly showed disdain. Swish! The white-clothed young master rushed forward again, and with a white rainbow piercing the sun, he directly pierced Lin Feng's chest. This spear was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Lin Feng swung his sword to block. Suddenly, the white-clothed young master shouted, "Frozen heaven and earth!" As soon as his voice fell, the temperature between heaven and earth suddenly dropped. The surroundings were cold. The ground was quickly covered in ice. Lin Feng's body even began to freeze. He was going to be frozen into an ice man. Ha! Boy, my martial spirit is an ice martial spirit. Now that you're frozen by my martial spirit and can't move, let's see what you have to fight with me. The white-clothed young master sneered and quickly rushed forward, his spear piercing towards Lin Feng's chest. That young master is finished. More than 10 cultivators who were tied up were pale. The white-clothed young master's powerful spear pierced towards him. The moment of life and death had arrived. The spear was about to pierce Lin Feng's body. But at this moment, the layer of ice that completely sealed Lin Feng shattered. At this critical moment, Lin Feng directly used the draconic elephant divine force to shatter the layer of ice. Swish! He quickly moved to the right. The white-clothed young master's spear pierced through Lin Feng's body. It was a close call, and he dodged the fatal blow. Lin Feng jumped back a few times and retreated a dozen meters. Boy, you're really lucky. But next time, you won't be so lucky. The white-clothed young master was startled. He obviously hadn't thought that Lin Feng would be able to dodge his fatal blow, but then he laughed evilly. Boom! The white-clothed young master attacked again. Overlord Spear Technique. This time, the spear was even more powerful. Young master, run away, don't fight anymore. The cultivators who were tied up shouted loudly. In their opinion, Lin Feng was definitely not a match for the white-clothed young master. The difference in strength between them was too big. Even though they wanted to live, they didn't want to drag Lin Feng down with them. "Don't worry, I won't lose," said Lin Feng. His voice was still a little immature, but his voice was filled with unprecedented confidence. This confidence even infected the tied-up cultivators. It made them feel as if they had seen the hope of survival once more. Shameless boasting. Die! The white-clothed young master laughed evilly. His powerful spear was already moving towards Lin Feng. At that moment, Lin Feng also used his sword technique. Scorching Sun Sword Technique, shouted Lin Feng in a deep voice. He then brandished his sword in front of him. Buzz. Behind Lin Feng, a ball of scorching light slowly rose into the sky. That ball of scorching light was like a sun. When it appeared, everyone couldn't open their eyes. What's that? I can't see anything. Is that a sun? The cultivators who were tied up shouted in shock. Lin Feng was standing in the center of the sun. He looked like the god of the sun. No, impossible. How can you know such a powerful sword technique? The white-clothed young master felt fear for the first time. When he faced Lin Feng's scorching sun sword technique, his body started trembling uncontrollably. "I'm the young master of the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group, Duanmu Feiyang. If you dare to kill me, you're dead." The white-clothed young master threatened loudly, with his eyes closed. He couldn't open his eyes because if he kept them open, the blinding light would probably blind him. The Heavenly Wolf mercenary group was one of the top 10 mercenary groups in the Zhanwu country. They were extremely powerful. No wonder the white-clothed young master was so reckless and killed the innocent. He had such a powerful force behind him. I don't care who you are. I'll kill you without hesitation. Lin Feng's cold voice resounded through the sky. The scorching sun rose into the sky. The divine sword was unsheathed. Swish, Lin Feng moved. A cold light flashed. The white-clothed young master felt a pain in his neck. In the next moment, he felt blood spurt out. Chapter 19. In a cave, Lin Feng took out a ring. It was the ring that he had obtained from the white-clothed prince. 6 hours later, Lin Feng released a dozen cultivators. Then he told them to take care of the corpses of the young man in white clothes and the beautiful woman. Then he swaggered off. 20 great strength dragon pills, a magical bow, and 300,000 silver notes. Lin Feng refined the storage ring and took out the items inside. There were dozens of items, but the most precious ones were the great strength dragon pills, the magical bow, and the 300,000 silver notes. This ring was called a spiritual ring. It was made by a great master spiritual array master and was worth millions of silver. Moreover, this item was priceless. It was very difficult to buy it, even if you had money. Even in the Tianlang mercenary group, there were only 2 spiritual rings like this. I didn't think that Duanmu Tianlang would love his son so much that he would give him a spiritual ring. Lin Feng muttered to himself. However, a smile appeared on his face. This spiritual ring was a treasure. It was about 30 cubic meters in size and could hold many things. Lin Feng refined the spiritual ring with a drop of his blood. In the mountain forest, there was a waterfall that was 3,000 feet tall. The waves were monstrous. At the bottom of the waterfall, there was a smooth rock. A topless young man was letting the waterfall wash his body. This young man was none other than Lin Feng. Great Sage Chop, Moon in the Ocean, Flood Dragon Goes to Sea. Under the waterfall, Lin Feng was practicing various martial arts that he had learned. He had taken 20 great strength dragon pills and came to the bottom of the waterfall. With the help of the power of the waterfall, he could better refine the medicinal power of the great strength dragon pills. Moreover, it could also be used to refine the body. As the saying goes, dripping water can penetrate a stone. The waterfall that was 3,000 feet tall could make a cultivator of the 7th celestial layer faint. In an instant, at the bottom of the waterfall, there was a huge pool surrounded by mist. It was very good for hiding Lin Feng, who was cultivating under the waterfall. Even if someone passed by the pool, it would be very difficult to find Lin Feng. After refining the 20 great strength dragon pills, Lin Feng's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. It had reached 16,000 kilograms. Moreover, Lin Feng's cultivation level had also increased to the peak of the 7th celestial layer. I haven't broken through to the 8th celestial layer, but my strength has already increased to 16,000 kilograms. I can directly crush an 8th celestial layer. Lin Feng was overjoyed. Once he broke through to the 8th celestial layer, his strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Splash! Lin Feng immediately jumped into the pond. He looked like a fish swimming in the water. Suddenly, Lin Feng sensed that the temperature of the pond was dropping. What's going on? Lin Feng didn't understand. He swam towards the center of the lake because Lin Feng found that the closer he got to the lake, the lower the temperature. Lin Feng's heart was filled with confusion. When Lin Feng arrived at the center of the lake, he saw a young girl floating in the center of the lake. She was completely naked and was cultivating a secret technique. With that young girl as the center, waves of cold energy surged out, and the surrounding water temperature quickly dropped. Ice attribute cultivation technique. Lin Feng was shocked. But Lin Feng immediately narrowed his eyes because that young girl's figure was really not bad. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, but she had a proud figure with a perfect golden ratio. Her snow-white skin was delicate, and her palm-sized face could be said to be exquisite and beautiful. Her tender red lips revealed a seductive color. The young girl who was cultivating the ice attribute cultivation technique seemed to have sensed a strange aura and immediately opened her eyes. But what made her feel ashamed and angry was that not far away, a man was staring at her charming body. The young girl knew how beautiful she was and how seductive her figure was. Now that a strange man had seen it, the young girl suddenly had the urge to kill. Pervert! How dare you come to my place to cultivate and peek? I'm going to kill you. The young girl coldly snorted and sent a palm towards Lin Feng. Whoosh! A wave of water swept towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression didn't change. He quickly swam to the right and dodged the young girl's attack. Lin Feng hurriedly said, "I wasn't peeking at you. I was cultivating under the waterfall not far away and felt the cold air here. So I swam over to see what was going on. I didn't think that there would be someone here." The young girl coldly snorted. "Who would believe the nonsense of a pervert like you?" The young girl's voice fell, and she once again attacked Lin Feng. The young girl continuously sent out 3 palm strikes. Each strike was stronger than the previous one. Huge waves soared into the sky and formed ice spears in the air, stabbing towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. This young girl was definitely not joking. She really wanted to kill him. When the 3 ice spears stabbed towards him, Lin Feng quickly dove into the water. The ice spears almost missed Lin Feng's head and stabbed towards him. It was very lucky to be able to dodge the 3 ice spears. The young girl's pretty face slightly changed. She didn't expect Lin Feng to dodge her attack. Immediately after, the young girl felt a pair of huge arms hug her from behind. Moreover, the hands were placed in places where they shouldn't be. "Ah, you bastard!" The young girl's face was so red that it could drip blood. This kind of contact made her body go soft in an instant. Feeling the hot male breath behind her, the young girl couldn't muster up any strength. Feeling the softness and elasticity of the young girl's body, Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Fortunately, he had great self-control. He said, "I accidentally looked at you a few times, and you want to kill me? Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless." The young girl's face paled in fright after hearing Lin Feng's words. She cried out, "Although I'm in the wrong, can't you go easy on me a little?" Lin Feng was speechless. He was almost killed by her ice spears just now. And you want this young master to go easy on you? However, it was indeed a misunderstanding between him and this young girl. There was no deep hatred between them. Lin Feng said, "I can let you go, but you can't attack me again." The young girl bit her lip. She had no choice but to agree now. Besides, she was naked and in Lin Feng's arms. If this continued, who knew what terrible things would happen? She hurriedly nodded. Lin Feng let her go, and the 2 of them left the pool and put on their clothes. Seeing the young girl's cold gaze, Lin Feng knew that this was bad. He had a feeling that she was going to go back on her word. So Lin Feng planned to leave immediately. But at that moment, 7 or 8 cultivators rushed over. The one in the lead was about 20 years old. "Hey, Morong Shui." The young cultivator in the lead obviously hadn't expected to run into Morong Shui here. He was stunned for a moment. Then a cold smile appeared on his face. "Sun Kuei." When she saw that cultivator, Morong Shui's expression changed slightly. They obviously knew each other, and from the looks of it, they were enemies. "Ha, Morong Shui, why aren't you in Sky Saint City? What are you doing here in the wild?" Sun Kuei looked at Murong Shui lecherously. Sky Saint City? Lin Feng was shocked. Sky Saint City was one of the 10 great ancient cities of the Eastern Prefecture. The Tianwu continent was divided into 3,000 provinces, and the Eastern Prefecture was one of them. There were many factions in the Eastern Prefecture. There were empires and sects, but the top factions were the ancient factions of the 10 great ancient cities. Murong Shui had come from Sky Saint City, one of the 10 great ancient cities. It seemed that she was a disciple of one of the ancient factions of Sky Saint City. I can go wherever I want. What can you do about it? Murong Shui snorted coldly. Murong Shui, this is the wild, not Sky Saint City. Who do you think you're throwing a tantrum at? Young Master Yun Feng of our Soul Devourer Temple is also in the wild. He's always been interested in you. If I capture you and offer you to young Master Yun Feng, it'll be a great achievement. Guards, capture Murong Shui. As for the other guy, kill him. Sun Kuei ordered. Yes, sir. Chapter 20. Everyone, I don't know her. There's no need to involve me in your enmity, right? Said Lin Feng icily. You don't know each other? From the looks of it, you just took a bath together, didn't you? Sun Kuei looked at Lin Feng enviously. He wished he was the one who had taken a bath together with Murong Shui. Capture Murong Shui alive. As for this brat, kill him. Lin Feng's expression darkened. He hadn't expected these people to be so ruthless. They could take someone's life with a single thought. These people are from the Soul Devourer Palace. There's no reason to reason with them. Why don't you join hands with me and get rid of them? The Soul Devourer Palace was an extremely terrifying power. It was said that they specialized in devouring other people's souls. The Soul Devourer Palace had once caused trouble in the Eastern Divine Prefecture. Many large powers had besieged the Soul Devourer Palace. Back then, the 10 great ancient cities had led the attack on the Soul Devourer Palace, shocking the entire Tianwu continent. However, the Soul Devourer Palace had still managed to survive. Now that the Soul Devourer Palace's disciples had encountered someone from the 10 great ancient cities, and such a beautiful woman at that, it was only natural for them to have evil thoughts. Lin Feng naturally nodded. Only by joining hands with Murong Shui would they have a chance to survive. Otherwise, they would be attacked one by one. When the time came, he would be killed, and Murong Shui would be captured and humiliated by the Soul Devourer Palace. Sun Kuei locked onto Murong Shui. Sun Kuei was a martial master and was very strong. He seemed to be very confident in himself. With a long roar, he punched towards Murong Shui. Sun Kuei's punch was called Soul-Splitting Fist. The power was ferocious and violent, bringing with it a powerful force that could destroy everything. It instantly blasted out. Murong Shui's expression was cold. She had just been peeked at by Lin Feng, and had even had such intimate contact with Lin Feng. Murong Shui had never been taken advantage of by a man before. She had been suppressing her anger, and now she attacked without holding back. She wanted to vent all her anger on Lin Feng on Sun Kuei. Murong Shui's primary cultivation technique was an ice-type cultivation technique. Thus, the secret technique she cultivated was also inclined towards the ice type. In the face of Sun Kuei's attack, Murong Shui displayed an ice fist technique. Her palm was encased in ice, and a chilling aura surged out, causing the surrounding air to turn cold. Murong Shui's attack collided with Sun Kuei's attack. Sun Kuei was pushed back by Murong Shui's attack. Sun Kuei's hand was frozen in a flash. That ice chi was going to freeze Sun Kuei's entire body. Murong Shui was extremely strong. When Lin Feng saw that, he was astonished. Kid, you should be worried about yourself. How can you be distracted? The 4 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple sneered. They rushed towards Lin Feng, holding huge swords or blades. They wanted to kill Lin Feng. We don't know who will win yet. Lin Feng's expression was cold. He held his sword in his right hand and pointed it forward. Rising Sunday, he shouted in a deep voice. Behind Lin Feng, a sun slowly rose into the sky. It was dazzling. Ah, my eyes. The 4 cultivators of the soul devourer temple screamed. They felt a sharp pain in their eyes. They had almost been blinded by the sun. They couldn't help but close their eyes. At that moment, Lin Feng moved. Swish, his sword flashed. It was cold. Slash, 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 slash. The 4 cultivators of the soul devourer temple felt pain in their necks. How is this possible? Shouted the 4 cultivators of the soul devourer temple. They couldn't believe it. Then they fell to the ground, dead. Sun Kuei's face was gloomy. He hurriedly circulated his qi to dissolve the cold qi in his body. Then he waved his hand and shouted, "Attack together. We must take Morong Shui down." After receiving Sun Kuei's order, the rest of the cultivators pounced on Morong Shui like wolves and tigers. Including Sun Kuei, there was a total of 11 cultivators besieging Morong Shui. Due to that, Morong Shui was forced into a bitter struggle. Besieged by 11 cultivators, Morong Shui cut quite the sorry figure. "I'll help you," shouted Lin Feng. He joined the battle. 2 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple didn't even have time to react before Lin Feng killed them. They had been focused on Morong Shui. They hadn't expected Lin Feng to kill 4 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple and come to help Morong Shui. The cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple looked as if they had seen a ghost. Lin Feng was like an ant. How could he kill 4 cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple? They couldn't understand. Morong Shui's eyes lit up. While the cultivators of the Soul Devourer Temple were still in a daze, she waved her right hand and 3 icy cold beams of light flew out. They were as fast as lightning and instantly pierced the bodies of 3 cultivators. Not good. It's the divine ice needles. That's a spirit weapon. We have to run. Sun Kuei's face turned ugly when he saw Morong Shui's treasures. He didn't even think about it before running away. The others turned pale with fright. They all ran into the forest and disappeared. The 3 icy cold beams of light flew back into Morong Shui's hand. Chapter 21. When Morong Shui saw that Lin Feng was wary of her, she couldn't help but snort coldly. "Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. After all, you helped me just now." Lin Feng smiled and said, "We've been through life and death together. If you really want to thank me, just give me the treasure in your hand." Morong Shui couldn't help but snort, "Why don't you go and die?" Lin Feng obviously knew that Morong Shui wouldn't give him the powerful treasure. He was just teasing her. Lin Feng looked at the treasure in Morong Shui's hand and saw that it was 3 silver needles that emitted a cold aura and were as thick as a strand of hair. "What kind of treasure is this?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "This is the divine ice needle. It's made from a type of ice stone that can be found in an extremely cold place. It's made from cold iron. There's a spell formation on it, and when you pour your qi into it, it can be activated and kill people from a distance." Morong Shui couldn't help but feel proud of herself. Lin Feng sighed. As expected of someone from a powerful organization, she actually had such a powerful treasure. Lin Feng guessed that Morong Shui's identity was definitely extraordinary. Otherwise, how could she have a treasure like a flying sword at such a young age? Although Lin Feng had some guesses about Morong Shui's identity, he wasn't interested in learning more. He planned to leave so that Morong Shui wouldn't turn against him again. After all, A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. Who knew if Morong Shui would change her mind? When she saw that Lin Feng was about to leave, Morong Shui hurriedly said, "Don't be in such a hurry to leave. I have a big deal waiting for you." "Oh, big deal?" Lin Feng stopped and looked at Morong Shui in surprise. "Of course. I can see that your cultivation is not bad, so I want you to join us. We can take care of each other if we go together," said Morong Shui. "What is it? Tell me." Lin Feng said, "We can't stay here for long. Let's leave first." Morong Shui said. Lin Feng nodded and left with Morong Shui. After Sun Kuei and the others escaped, they came to a valley. In the valley, there were hundreds of people resting. "Young master, I'm back." Sun Kuei quickly flew over and bowed to a young master. This young master looked to be around 20 years old and was abnormally handsome. However, his pair of long and narrow eyes gave him a feminine aura that gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. This person was called Yuan Yunfeng, and he was the grandson of a great elder of the Soul Devourer Hall. His status was noble. "Why are you in such a sorry state?" Seeing Sun Kuei return in a sorry state, Yuan Yunfeng could not help but furrow his brows. Sun Kuei said hurriedly, "Young master, we met Morong Shui from Heaven Saint City. We wanted to capture her, but we didn't expect that she had a powerful magic weapon and a young man helping her. As a result, we lost several brothers, so I came back to report to you immediately." Morong Shui? Yuan Yunfeng's eyes flashed coldly. Back then, Heaven Saint City and the other 9 ancient cities joined hands to attack my Soul Devourer Temple. They almost destroyed my Soul Devourer Temple. Who would have thought that the granddaughter of Heaven Saint City's mayor would come to the Mang Huang Forest? We must capture Morong Shui and bring her back to Soul Devourer Temple. "Yes, young master." Sun Kuei and the others began to look for Morong Shui and Lin Feng. But Lin Feng and Morong Shui had already left. Yuan Yunfeng's expression was ugly. "Damn it, it seems that Morong Shui escaped. If we miss this opportunity, it won't be so easy to catch her next time." "Young master, are we still looking?" asked Sun Kuei. "That woman is lucky. The most important thing now is to go to the fire demon's territory." Yuan Yunfeng looked gloomy. Night fell. A bonfire was burning. Lin Feng's handsome face was red. Above the bonfire, there was barbecued meat. The meat had already been roasted to a golden color and was emitting an alluring aroma. "Can we talk about the big deal now? If it's possible, we can cooperate. If it's not possible, then this meal is a farewell meal," said Lin Feng. Morong Shui took out a picture. "What's this?" asked Lin Feng. "This picture is called the Yin Yang Limitless Picture," said Morong Shui. She opened the picture. Lin Feng saw a middle-aged man on the front of the picture. He was surrounded by clouds and mist, giving people the impression that he was riding the clouds. On the back of the painting, there were many lines drawn on it. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a road map. "Yin Yang Limitless Picture? What's the secret of this picture?" asked Lin Feng. "The man in the picture is called the Wu Ji Taoist. This picture records the cave that the Wu Ji Taoist left behind. It may contain the treasures, wealth, and even some powerful martial skills that the Wu Ji Taoist left behind," said Morong Shui. "The Wu Ji Taoist? Is he very powerful?" asked Lin Feng. "The Wu Ji Taoist is a cultivator of the Yin Yang realm. Tell me, is he powerful or not?" said Morong Shui. "Yin Yang realm?" Lin Feng looked at Morong Shui in surprise. He only knew that cultivators could be divided into warriors, masters, generals, and kings. As for the realms above the king level, he didn't know. Morong Shui looked at Lin Feng strangely. She was surprised that Lin Feng didn't know about the yin and yang world. She explained, cultivators are divided into 3 different cultivation levels. Each cultivation level is divided into 4 smaller cultivation levels. The first cultivation level is called the human cultivation level. The human cultivation level is used to strengthen one's physical body. It's divided into 4 levels: martial artist, martial teacher, martial general, martial king layer, and martial king layer. When you reach the martial king layer, your physical body will be as strong as a mountain. When you reach the king level, you will reach the earth realm. When you reach the earth realm, you will begin to develop your brain, comprehend the way of the heavens, and cultivate your magic. It is also divided into 4 realms: yin-yang, fortune, life and death, and reincarnation. It is said that when you reach the reincarnation realm, you will be free from the pain of reincarnation. You will not be bound by the 5 elements, and you will be able to live forever. The 3rd major realm, the heavenly realm, is even more incredible. Cultivators in this realm will be able to use the power of cosmic laws and control order. They will be like gods. They will be worshipped and baptized by incense. This major realm is divided into the hollow god realm, the divine flame realm, the true god realm, and the indestructible realm. Lin Feng was astonished. He had never thought that there would be so many cultivation layers after the Huangqi layer. Originally, the Huangqi layer was only the first layer. Strictly speaking, the Huangqi layer was still a cultivation layer. Cultivation was about cultivation. 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 Murong Shui looked at Lin Feng, put her hands on her hips, and said, "What do you think? Are you tempted now?" Said Lin Feng, "Since you invited me so sincerely, I will agree. But before we leave, we should discuss how to divide the treasures in the cave once we find the cave of the king level cultivator. I don't want to have a fight if we don't divide the treasures evenly. The yin-yang limitless diagram is mine. Of course I want more things. I'll take 70 and you take 30. What do you think?" said Murong Shui. Chapter 22. Roar. Lin Feng and Murong Shui were surrounded by a dozen gigantic wolves of the forest. Those gigantic wolves of the forest were 7 or 8 meters tall. They were terrifyingly strong. After fighting for an hour, the 2 of them finally managed to kill the gigantic wolves of the forest. However, they were already exhausted and had to find a place to rest. "Is the route right? We've already been attacked by 5 waves of beasts," Murong Shui said unhappily. Lin Feng and Murong Shui were going to a place called Heavenly Cliff. Lin Feng had been there before, so he knew the route. He took Murong Shui with him, but the journey was full of danger. Lin Feng said, "Don't worry, it's definitely right. This place is very dangerous. I heard that there is a group of fire demons living in the depths of the forest. We have to be careful when we pass through their territory." "What? There are fire demons? We have to pass through their territory?" Murong Shui's expression suddenly changed. Fire demons were very frightening beasts that lived in groups. They could use fire attacks, so ordinary people didn't dare to provoke them. "Can we take a detour?" Morong Shue frowned. Lin Feng said, "As far as I know, there's only one way." Morong Shue nodded. After resting for a while, Lin Feng and Morong Shue continued their journey. When they passed through their territory, they were attacked by a fire demon. Fire demons were similar to giant apes, but their bodies were surrounded by flames. They also had a horn on their head, and their bodies were covered in scales instead of hair. The fire demon was very powerful. It was probably a fire demon commander. Lin Feng and Murong Shue had a hard time dealing with it. "It's a fire demon's roar," Sun Kuei shouted. "Let's go take a look," Yuan Yunfeng said excitedly. He had been searching for fire demons' territory. When he heard the fire demons roar, it meant that they weren't far away. The fire demon that was attacking Lin Feng and Morong Shue saw a group of over 100 cultivators in the distance. It gave up on attacking Lin Feng and Morong Shue and rushed towards a nearby valley. That was probably the fire demon's territory. Soul Devourer Palace. When Lin Feng saw Sun Kuei, his expression changed slightly. He and Murong Shue quickly rushed into the dense forest and hid behind a huge rock. Soon, a group of people from Soul Devourer Palace arrived. Li Qianshang asked doubtfully, "Why did the fire demon roar earlier? Maybe he saw us? Is that why he sent a signal to the other fire demons?" Sun Kuei asked doubtfully. Yuan Yunfeng nodded and said, "It's also possible." They didn't think too much about it because they were far away when Lin Feng was fighting the fire demon. They didn't see Lin Feng and Murong Shue. "It's Yuan Yunfeng." Murong Shue saw the leader, Yuan Yunfeng, and her eyes revealed killing intent. "What? Is there a grudge between you two?" asked Lin Feng. "A year ago, a few of my fellow disciples went out to gain experience and saw Yuan Yunfeng leading a group of Devil Dao experts to slaughter innocent people in a small town. Over 10,000 people were slaughtered, and the reason was that Yuan Yunfeng wanted to practice a Devil Dao secret technique. Just like that, he cruelly massacred an entire town. Soul Devourer Palace was famous for its wickedness, but Lin Feng hadn't thought that they would kill so many innocent people just to practice a demon cultivation technique. It was too many to count. Lin Feng said, "That guy is really detestable. Soul Devourer Palace is evil. Everyone has the right to kill him," said Murong Shue, gnashing her teeth. "They're here. Let's hide well," whispered Lin Feng. Before long, Yuan Yunfeng and the others arrived. Lin Feng and Murong Shue held their breaths. At that moment, they heard Sun Kuei's flattering voice. "Young master, the fire demon's territory is right in front of us." We've finally reached the fire demon's territory. Every 10 years, the fire demon's territory produces a portion of fire demon's liquid. Now, it's 10 years of reincarnation. If I can get that fire demon's liquid, I'll be able to break through to the 10th celestial layer. At that time, I'll only be a step away from becoming a general, said Yuan Yunfeng with an incomparably proud smile. At the age of 20, he was already at the 10th celestial layer. He really could be called a genius. "Young master, you'll definitely shake the 3,000 provinces of the Tianwu continent in the future." Sun Kuei and the others immediately flattered him. Hearing the group of people's compliments, Yuan Yunfeng also had a complacent expression. Said Lin Feng at that moment, "Did you hear what Yuan Yunfeng and the others were talking about? They seemed to be talking about the fire demon's liquid. According to the record, the fire demon's liquid is a spiritual liquid of heaven and earth. This kind of treasure can shape the body and increase one's cultivation. It can be called a heavenly treasure," said Murong Shue. No wonder Yuan Yunfeng came to the desolate forest. He was actually looking for the fire demon's liquid. Said Lin Feng, "This is a spirit treasure in the world. It's extremely rare. If we miss this chance, we might not be able to find it again in our lifetime. If we have the chance, I naturally wouldn't mind stealing Yuan Yunfeng's fire demon's liquid. After pausing for a moment, Lin Feng continued. Besides, there are many fire demons living in the fire demon's territory. If Yuan Yunfeng and the others want to obtain the fire demon's liquid, they have to deal with these fire demons. This is our chance. Morong Shui was also eager to give it a try. She said, "Then let's be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We'll snatch the fire demon's liquid and make Yuan Yunfeng's efforts go to waste." Chapter 23. It seems that these fire demons have developed some intelligence. Lin Feng whispered. He and Murong Shui hid in the dark, quietly observing the situation. "A group of beasts dares to threaten me? You're courting death. Activate the flying swords." After seeing the fire demons, Yuan Yunfeng's face was full of sneers. In order to obtain the fire demon liquid, Yuan Yunfeng had been preparing for a long time. The people he brought were all experts of the Soul Devourer Palace, and there were also 2 martial masters, Sun Kuei and Li Tianshang. At the same time, Yuan Yunfeng also brought 3 flying swords. These flying swords could kill people from a distance. They were very powerful, although the 3 flying swords Yuan Yunfeng brought were only low-level flying swords. But they were also very powerful. Yuan Yunfeng, Sun Kuei, and Li Tianshang each activated a flying sword to attack the fire demons. These flying swords were engraved with runes. When true qi was poured into them, the flying swords turned into streams of light and flew towards the fire devils. The fire devils tried their best to jump and dodge the flying swords. However, the speed of the flying swords was too fast. One by one, the fire devils were killed. So powerful, Lin Feng was secretly speechless. When a cultivator's strength was combined with a magic weapon, their battle strength could be greatly increased. This was not something that the ferocious beasts of the mountain forest could contend against. Although some ferocious beasts were very powerful and could kill cultivators in close combat, if they encountered a cultivator with a magic weapon, they could only be slaughtered. For example, these fire demons in front of them were very powerful, but now they were being slaughtered continuously. Of course, using a treasure like the flying swords was not without conditions. This kind of treasure consumed a lot of energy, and Yuan Yunfeng and the other 2 could not hold on for long. So they had to end the battle quickly. Roar! A gigantic fire demon king, which was over 10 meters tall, roared and charged outside. This was the fire demon king. Seeing so many fire demons being killed, the fire demon king was completely enraged and rushed out with a roar. Concentrate your firepower and kill the fire demon king. After seeing the fire demon king appear, Yuan Yunfeng's face showed a burst of excitement. As long as the fire demon king was killed, the other fire demons were nothing to be afraid of. Sun Kuei, Li Tianshang, and Li Tianshang took out their flying swords and slashed towards the Flame Devil King. However, the Flame Devil King displayed a terrifying power at this time. It spewed out 3 huge fireballs that wrapped around the 3 flying swords. Yuan Yunfeng, Li Tianshang, and Sun Kuei's divine sense on the flying sword were immediately refined. The Fire Devil King swallowed the 3 flying swords in one gulp. Damn it! Seeing the 3 flying swords being snatched away by the Fire Devil King, Yuan Yunfeng also felt as if he was dripping blood. With a roar, the Demon Fire King uprooted a mountain nearly 1,000 meters in height before hurling it towards the cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace. What monstrous power! Lin Feng and Murong Shui were left speechless. Pulling up a mountain with just a lift of his hand, this strength was too terrifying. Hurry up and dodge. The cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace cried out in fear and scattered in all directions. However, there were still a dozen people who were a little slow and were directly smashed into meat paste by the mountain throne by the Fire Devil King. The rest of the fire demons were also ferocious and rushed forward together. One by one, they opened their bloody mouths and spat out fireballs towards the cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace. Bang! 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 The fireballs exploded, and more than 30 cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace died. In an instant, it could be said that they suffered heavy losses. Young master, we have too many casualties on our side. Should we temporarily avoid them? Sun Kuei said. Lure these fire demons away, Yuan Yunfeng said in a deep voice. This person was as intelligent as a demon and instantly thought of a way to destroy the fire demons. The cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace began to retreat into the distance. Under the lead of the Fire Devil King, the fire demons chased after the cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace. Soon, the cultivators from Soul Devourer Palace and the group of fire demons led by the Fire Devil King disappeared from sight. Lin Feng and Murong Shue's faces lit up as they quickly rushed towards the valley. Let's move quickly. I'm worried that Yuan Yunfeng will turn back halfway, Lin Feng said. Murong Shue nodded and entered the fire demon cave with Lin Feng. The temperature inside the cave was extremely high, as if it was about to melt a person's body. There was a groove in the middle of the fire devil's cave, and inside it was a ball of spirit liquid that was as hot as fire. Fire demon liquid. Lin Feng took out a porcelain bottle and quickly filled it. However, at that moment, 2 fire demons rushed out from the depths of the cave. When they saw Lin Feng and Murong Shue, they roared and pounced towards them. Murong Shue said, I'll deal with these 2 fire demons. You quickly collect the fire demon liquid. All right, be careful. Lin Feng nodded and did not delay. He quickly filled the groove with the fire demon liquid. Murong Shue used an ice fist technique and attacked the fire demons. Ice restrained fire. The 2 fire demons were suppressed by Murong Shue. The 2 fire demons roared and opened their bloody mouths, spitting out fireballs. Ice shield. Murong Shue hurriedly ran her cultivation method and condensed an ice shield in front of her, blocking the attack of the fire demon's fireball. However, after blocking the attack, her face turned pale. Obviously, using 2 powerful secret skills in a row consumed a lot of Murong Shue's strength. Fortunately, Lin Feng had already collected the fire demon liquid. He shouted, Let's go! Murong Shue heaved a sigh of relief and quickly rushed out with Lin Feng. The 2 fire demons roared and chased after Lin Feng and Murong Shue. However, when they left the valley, Lin Feng and Murong Shue had already disappeared. Not long after Lin Feng and Murong Shue left, a figure rushed over from afar. It was Yuan Yunfeng of the Soul Devourer Palace. He used the cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace to lure away the Fire Demon King and the group of fire demons. Then he turned back halfway and prepared to collect the fire demon liquid. At this moment, Yuan Yunfeng's face was filled with excitement. When he thought about how he could achieve a breakthrough after obtaining the fire demon liquid, his heart was filled with excitement. He entered the fire demon cave. As soon as he entered, the 2 fire demons pounced on Yuan Yunfeng. Yuan Yunfeng's gaze turned cold, and he sneered, Bastards, you're courting death. Yuan Yunfeng's back trembled slightly, like a dragon shaking its spine. He exerted all his strength and sent out 2 consecutive punches, colliding with the 2 fire demons. Bang! Bang! The 2 fire demons' bodies directly exploded. They were smashed into pieces by Yuan Yunfeng's punch. This Yuan Yunfeng's strength was truly terrifying. After killing the 2 fire demons, Yuan Yunfeng quickly arrived in front of the groove. However, When he arrived, the smile on his face instantly disappeared. The groove was completely empty. Clearly, someone had arrived first and taken away the fire demon liquid in the groove. Chapter 24. In a hidden cave, Lin Feng and Morong Shui were sitting cross-legged, refining the demon fire liquid. When the demon fire liquid entered their bodies, they felt as if they were about to burst into flames. He didn't dare hesitate and hurriedly circulated the archaic dragonesque elephant technique to refine the demon fire liquid. Under the archaic dragonesque elephant technique's refinement, Lin Feng's body temperature gradually returned to normal. At this time, Yuan Yunfeng had already stabilized his state of mind. After spitting out the blood that had accumulated in his chest, Yuan Yunfeng felt a lot more comfortable. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and left the cave to meet up with Sun Kuei and the rest. "Young master, did you get the demon fire liquid?" Sun Kuei and the others asked with flattering expressions. Yuan Yunfeng's face suddenly revealed a cold-killing intent. The demon fire liquid was stolen. What? Had it been stolen? Could it be Morong Shui and her companions? Another cultivator said. This cultivator was also a martial master. He was skinny, around 30 years old, and had a ferocious appearance. This person was Li Tianshang, the third martial master in Yuan Yunfeng's group. Sun Kuei said, "It must be them." Yuan Yunfeng's expression was gloomy as he nodded and said, "Go and search. I want to tear these two to shreds." "Yes, young master." After receiving Yuan Yunfeng's order, the cultivators of the Soul Devourer Palace scattered to search for Lin Feng and Morong Shui. 6 hours later, Lin Feng finally opened his eyes. He sensed his body's condition, and a joyful expression appeared on his face. After refining the demon fire liquid, his meridians had doubled in size. Furthermore, Lin Feng's strength had reached a shocking 32,000 jin. "I finally broke through." Lin Feng took a deep breath. After absorbing the demon fire liquid, he had broken through to the 8th chi layer of the celestial layer. The 8th heavenly layer had a strength of 32,000 jin. One had to know that for an ordinary cultivator, the strength of an 8th heavenly layer martial artist was 12,800 jin. The strength of a 9th heavenly layer martial artist was 25,600 jin. And the strength of a 10th heavenly layer martial artist was 51,200 jin. Lin Feng was a martial artist at the 8th heavenly layer, but his strength had actually surpassed that of a martial artist at the 9th heavenly layer and was approaching the strength of a martial artist at the 10th heavenly layer perfection. An hour later, Morong Shui had also awakened from her cultivation. In that instant, Lin Feng sensed an extremely tyrannical fluctuation from Morong Shui's body. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Morong Shui should have also completed her breakthrough. Morong Shui stood up happily and said, "Hee, as expected of a spiritual liquid of heaven and earth. It helped me break through a level." The two of them rested for a short while before leaving the place of seclusion to search for the Yin-Yang limitless cave. The next day, while passing through a forest, Lin Feng suddenly became alert because he felt that this forest seemed to be too quiet. Almost subconsciously, Lin Feng shouted in a low voice, "Be careful, quickly dodge." Lin Feng moved to the left. Morong Shui heard Lin Feng's warning and also moved to the right. At that moment, a figure quickly swept over and a fist swept over. Lin Feng and Morong Shui retreated in time, so they dodged the attack. However, the chi wave produced by the fist was too strong, and it actually sent Lin Feng and Morong Shui flying. "Brat, your cultivation isn't much, but you're quite alert." At that moment, a sneer came from the forest. Lin Feng and Morong Shui looked over, and their expressions changed slightly. It was actually Yuan Yunfeng. Seeing this person, Lin Feng and Murong Shue's mood suddenly sank. The two of them completely didn't expect to meet Yuan Yunfeng here. The two of them looked around and found that Yuan Yunfeng was alone. Only then did their expressions become better. If there were other people from the Soul Devourer Temple, for the two of them, it would be disastrous. This Yuan Yunfeng didn't have any intention of saying a word to Lin Feng and Murong Shui. He quickly rushed towards the two of them, obviously wanting to kill them. This person probably also knew that the demon fire liquid should have been refined by Lin Feng and Murong Shui. After all, so much time had passed, and now Yuan Yunfeng only wanted to kill Lin Feng and Murong Shui to vent his anger. Before he attacked, Yuan Yunfeng glanced at Murong Shui. He suddenly changed his mind. If he killed Lin Feng, then he killed him, but he had to keep Murong Shui alive first. Such a high-quality beauty. He wanted to F***CK her to death. Only then could he vent the anger in his heart. Seeing Yuan Yunfeng rushing over, Lin Feng drew his sword and rushed towards Yuan Yunfeng. He and Murong Shui had been working together for a while, and they already had a lot of tacit understanding. A long sword unsheathed. The scorching sun rose into the sky. Lin Feng directly used his strongest attack, the scorching sun swordsmanship. He knew that he couldn't be careless when dealing with an expert like Yuan Yunfeng. Otherwise, it was very likely that he would fall. "Brat, you're courting death." Yuan Yunfeng's face was filled with cold-killing intent. He didn't even use a weapon, and just punched towards Lin Feng. True Qi revolved around Yuan Yunfeng's fist. With a clang, a muffled collision rang out. Lin Feng felt as if he had been hit by a mountain. He was directly sent flying. Yuan Yunfeng's strength was too terrifying. That power wanted to destroy Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was shocked. He had learned from Murong Shui that Yuan Yunfeng's cultivation was at the 9th layer of the Martial Master Realm. In that collision just now, Lin Feng had sensed the huge gap between himself and a 9th layer Martial Master. However, Lin Feng wasn't discouraged. He believed that when he reached the 9th layer of the Martial Master Realm, he only needed to reach the 4th or 5th layer of the Martial Master Realm. Perhaps he would be able to crush the 9th layer Yuan Yunfeng. Lin Feng, who had cultivated the archaic dragonesque elephant art, had complete confidence in himself. Lin Feng circulated his devouring martial spirit and completely devoured the terrifying power that had entered his body. At this time, Yuan Yunfeng leapt up and once again sent a palm towards Lin Feng. He wanted to get rid of Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. This attack was practically unavoidable. At this time, Murong Shui was already prepared. 3 frigid ice divine needles were sent flying towards Yuan Yunfeng. Seeing the 3 frigid ice divine needles about to pierce through Yuan Yunfeng's body, Murong Shui's face lit up with joy. But at that moment, Yuan Yunfeng sneered. He waved his right hand, and a square seal flew out. That large square seal had tyrannical fluctuations lingering around it. It was clearly a powerful magic tool. Clearly, it was also a powerful treasure. Yuan Yunfeng had already used 3 flying swords before. Lin Feng and Murong Shui hadn't expected that Yuan Yunfeng would still have a treasure on him. The seal of mountains and rivers rapidly enlarged, instantly becoming 10 meters tall. Murong Shui's frigid ice divine needles were actually sent flying by the seal of mountains and rivers. Suddenly, the seal of mountains and rivers swept out a purple light, directly exploding on Murong Shui's body. Murong Shui let out a muffled groan and was sent flying, falling to the ground. Her face was extremely pale, and she couldn't get up for a long time. This attack had caused Murong Shui to suffer heavy injuries. Not good. Morong Shue's expression changed greatly. She tried to get up, but her whole body was in intense pain. In the end, she failed. She could only watch as the seal of mountains and rivers crushed her. Morong Shue, Morong Yu, am going to die just like this? Morong Shue's face was filled with despair. At this critical moment, Lin Feng appeared beside Morong Shue. He circulated the immemorial dragonesque elephant art with all his strength. The power of the dragonesque elephant crazily poured into Lin Feng's dantian. Then, from the dantian, it flowed into his limbs and bones, and into his arms, and then into the long sword in his hand. Lin Feng exploded with his strongest sword. Scorching sun swordsmanship. Lin Feng roared, and a scorching sun rose into the sky. Lin Feng's long sword collided with the seal of mountains and rivers. That powerful seal of mountains and rivers was actually sent flying 10 meters away by Lin Feng. However, this attack had clearly injured Lin Feng. His face was very pale. He quickly helped Morong Shue up. I've suffered internal injuries. Carry me on your back. We have to leave quickly. Morong Shue's face was pale. Morong Shue's 3 frost needles had already flown over. Lin Feng carried Morong Shue on his back and ran away. Yuan Yunfeng was full of killing intent as he chased after them. Morong Shue took out a frost needle and said somewhat sadly, "You've been with me for 5 years. You've saved my life many times, but today I have no choice but to destroy you." As soon as she finished speaking, Morong Shue gritted her teeth and took out a frost needle. That frost needle immediately surged with a terrifying aura. No wonder this frost needle is of a higher level than my seal of mountains and rivers, but its power is not as strong. It turns out that it drew a self-destruct formation. This self-destruct formation will weaken the magic treasure's power. Yuan Yunfeng's expression was extremely gloomy. Seeing that the frost needle was about to self-destruct, he quickly retreated. Boom! The frost needle self-destructed and directly exploded. A terrifying energy wave destroyed the entire forest. Smoke rose everywhere and dust filled the air. When the energy of the explosion dissipated, Yuan Yunfeng quickly walked out of his hiding place. However, at this time, Lin Feng and Morong Shue's figures were already gone. Hearing the commotion, Sun Kuei quickly rushed over. Before they could say anything, Yuan Yunfeng roared, "Morong Shue, and that bred have been injured by me. Hurry up and chase after them." "Yes," Sun Kuei and the others replied. Swish, swish, swish. Chapter 25. Now that Morong Shue had been injured by the seal of mountains and rivers, the most important thing now was to find a place to recover. Lin Feng ran for 20 miles and was finally exhausted. He stopped in front of a valley to rest. "Put me down," Morong Shue said. Lin Feng nodded and put Morong Shue down. "There's a cave in the valley. Let's go in and hide." Lin Feng said. Morong Shue nodded and entered the cave with Lin Feng. Lin Feng blocked the entrance with a huge rock. Morong Shue needed time to recover. They sat down cross-legged and used the time to heal themselves. Not long after, cultivators from the Soul Devourer Palace came searching. Lin Feng and Morong Shue were very nervous. If they were discovered, they would die without a doubt. Fortunately, the 2 people who came to search for him quickly left. 2 more groups of cultivators came searching. Lin Feng and Morong Shue were lucky. The 2 groups didn't find the cave either. Lin Feng was relieved and started to use the archaic dragonesque elephant art to heal himself. But 2 hours later, there was a loud bang, and the rock exploded. A cultivator stood at the entrance and looked coldly into the cave. "So you're hiding here?" The cultivator laughed sinisterly. It was Li Tianshang. He was a martial master from the Soul Devourer Palace. Lin Feng and Murong Shue's faces turned pale when they saw Li Tianshang. Murong Shue had lost her ability to fight, and Lin Feng was injured. It went without saying what it meant to meet Li Tianshang. "How did you find us?" Lin Feng's face was gloomy. He and Murong Shue had avoided 3 waves of cultivators from the Soul Devourer Palace, but Li Tianshang had found them. He was unwilling to accept it. "My cultivation technique allows me to sense the aura fluctuations within a radius of 1 mile. So what if you're hiding in a cave? You're only 400 meters away from me. Is it difficult to find you?" Li Tianshang said proudly. "I see." Lin Feng smiled bitterly. "Lin Feng, try your best to escape. Don't worry about me, or we'll both die at Li Tianshang's hands." Murong Shue said with a pale face, "Ha, you're looking down on me too much. In the future, I will become a man who rules over the world. How can I die in the hands of a mere martial master? Furthermore, he's only an early-stage martial master." Lin Feng laughed heartily. Murong Shue couldn't help but roll her eyes. How could Lin Feng still be in the mood to joke at such a time? Whoosh! Lin Feng had already rushed towards Li Tianshang. Looking at Lin Feng's back, Murong Shue was moved again. Even though he knew that he would die if he stayed, Lin Feng was still unwilling to leave her here. This made Murong Shue feel warm in her heart, but at this moment she was extremely worried about Lin Feng. After all, Lin Feng was only a martial master. Li Tianshang, on the other hand, was a martial master. "Brat, you're courting death." When Li Tianshang heard that Lin Feng dared to look down on him, he immediately flew into a rage. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Li Tianshang moved quickly towards the valley with a sneer on his face. In Li Tianshang's opinion, it would be very easy to deal with Lin Feng and Murong Shue. It was no wonder that Li Tianshang had such thoughts. Murong Shue was already unable to fight, and Lin Feng was only a martial master. How could he be a threat? "Brat, how dare you talk big in front of me? Today, I'll let you die without a burial place." Li Tianshang's face was filled with a sinister smile. He stepped forward and punched towards Lin Feng. Boom! This punch was like a tsunami. The terrifying power made Lin Feng feel suffocated. This was the terrifying thing about a martial master, even if the opponent was only a martial master at the first celestial layer. Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. He circulated the archaic dragonesque elephant skill with all his strength. He completely erupted with his own strength and collided with Li Tianshang's punch. Boom! Along with the earth-shattering sound of the collision, a huge sound rang out. Lin Feng and Li Tianshang fiercely collided. Lin Feng's body was directly sent flying, and he landed heavily on the ground. With just one collision, Lin Feng felt the huge gap between him and Li Tianshang. Murong Shue's pretty face turned even paler when she saw Lin Feng being sent flying. However, Murong Shue didn't continue to persuade Lin Feng. She knew that no matter how she tried to persuade Lin Feng, he wouldn't leave. Perhaps dying together with this guy isn't a bad way to die. Murong Shue couldn't help but think sadly. In her opinion, she and Lin Feng wouldn't be able to escape this time. "Little brat, you're just a martial warrior, yet you can actually withstand my attack. Not bad, not bad. However, you still won't be able to escape because in my eyes, you're as weak as an ant." Li Tianshang's face was full of disdain. He rushed over again and attacked Lin Feng with his palm. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and circulated the archaic dragonesque elephant skill. He condensed a crushing fist and punched Li Tianshang. Boom! Lin Feng and Li Tianshang collided again. In an instant, Lin Feng felt an earth-shattering power surging towards him. He was directly sent flying. Lin Feng's body flew uncontrollably for dozens of meters before he landed on the ground. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. The arm that had collided with Li Qianshang's attack was trembling violently. Li Qianshang was a martial master. Even if he was only at the first celestial layer, he was still too terrifying. Li Qianshang gave Lin Feng the feeling that he couldn't defeat him. "You're just a martial warrior. To be able to withstand 2 of my attacks without dying is already pretty good. All right, it's time to end this." Li Qianshang's face was full of cold, killing intent as he walked towards Lin Feng. Boom! Li Qianshang punched again, this time containing terrifying power. It was like a huge hammer smashing towards Lin Feng.